Hello guys, this is nothing else, another episode of Beating a Horse. aka once again, making a reaction to Illusion of Choice, breaking it down. Because I don't have any ideas to make more content and, I just don't feel like making 7 guides to archetypes. So this time I'm going to actually react to most of this video that is sped up twice, so it doesn't take that much time. And I have time to explain actually what is wrong in this video and provide my own criticisms.
You ever heard the expression beating a dead horse?
Yeah, let's just set it to like an actual nice quality maybe. Or maybe not, because then it will probably trigger some copyright.
You ever heard the expression beating a dead horse?
Yeah.
That's what I'm gonna do today.
Yeah. Beating a dead horse is what I'm also doing today.
I'm gonna beat a dead horse and make another video about the Pathfinder 2e core game mechanics and why I
Make
reached
this
the
video.
conclusion to quit playing the game. And I'm gonna respond to all of the criticism that I received this week. Now,
Yeah, and the really important thing is that the very thing about criticism is how from how he essentially just was talking about the illusion of choice and what he claimed to be claims to be criticisms later in the video is like people just saying that quitting Pathfinder 2nd edition is just like the criticism. But no, because all of the information is pretty much fake, because in both systems combats last 3 rounds, and the main premise was around speed of combat pretty much, because in both cases he's making an argument that players feel forced to do the same thing every turn. Okay, but in D&D it's also the same problem, but the rounds go quicker. Well, mostly rounds are designed to be around 3 rounds in each system. And in Pathfinder I could see it being longer because players might be thinking what to do with their actions, but if they do always just like one thing over and over, then in both systems it should be about as quick as it is normally.
not everybody disagrees with me, okay? I'm totally recognizing that. But
Okay. And also additionally, oh yeah.
my friends decided to jump on the bandwagon this week to dole out a little criticism for my opinion. Though, I want to point out that while there was plenty of criticism, I saw almost no contestation, no defense, no vindication of the system. Evidence.
Excuse me. Sorry. I mean, he literally just tested without even just like doing this. Like Rules Lawyer in his video, I'm not going to like react to both videos. He just tested it in practice. Just to show how it should work. How it should work and why it doesn't actually work that way. Which is literally trying to defend the system and working it on live examples.
To the contrary, or rationalizations to counter the points I made over the illusion of choice.
Yeah, like everyone literally does either the counterpoints or just talks that random people shouldn't just get discouraged from trying to play Pathfinder, because this is most of the stuff that I actually like noticed. Because that's like 90% of the stuff I notice, just people making a point. And while just I've almost never seen anybody actually like say anything. I like saw like one comment or like 1 or 2 comments that were actually like attacking him under like video, like personally.
Specifically prevalent during combat. I mean, what I did here was a lot of empty words, okay? Based in subjectivity, severely lacking any pertinent information while making absurd assumptions about a campaign and a group of players that they literally have never seen and don't know anything about. And at the same time, I also received comments encouraging me.
Yeah, we know a lot about these players. Considering the fact that I mean, not a lot, but we know enough. That's what I mean, okay? You told that the druid is just keeps wild shaping. and gets bored of that. Well, we know that the druid is probably like your average American citizen that just complains about things but never does anything about it. Because you know, you have retraining rules that as long as you have downtime, you can change your you can change a lot of your stuff. And even just by taking a rest, you can change your spell repertoire, which just gives you options to use spells. And the example with like druid just needing to turn into a dinosaur every time, well, doesn't really work because if you actually let's go to Pathfinder DPR. Let's go to Pathfinder DPR because you know. And let's actually compare what this does in damage. Okay. So let's take the dinosaur form. Yeah, just two character, just like dinosaur form Pathfinder 2e. Okay, if you transform into the dinosaur for 2 actions, let's say let's assume that it's a 9th level character. Okay, plus 18 to hit, damage bonus of plus 6, and 4d8 damage. I think, right? Because this is like the one that deals the most damage, so yeah. So yeah. Let's assume 4d8 plus 6 with 18, and most likely the characters over here, because I heard that this was the ones. So I assume that you're a normal GM and you just make the enemies 2 levels lower instead of just trying to make extreme encounters every time, so players actually like need to are forced, because unless it's an extreme encounter, your players are not forced. So yeah, let's just see what you will do in terms of like the whole combat. Okay, because okay, first two turns, you are going to like okay, first 2 actions you're going to transform, and then you need to get into a melee range. So 1 move action, 1 stride probably, unless it's more, but I'm assuming it in favor of like in favor of this guy. Okay, in favor of this guy, I'm trying to like make it the most favorable to this guy as possible, as favorable to this guy as I can. Okay, and that's 98.4 this. So over here also feel level 7. Okay, spell DC should be like the average spell DC plus 1. Okay, because that's like probably 9 at this point. Wait. So wait, 9th level, right? Plus, so that's 10 plus 9, so that's 19. That's plus 2 at least, I think. I thought, yeah, wait. Okay, so spell DC average probably table shows 26, but like, if you're a normal player, you know, you'll probably get like, by that time, you'll probably have plus 4 in your wisdom, so that would be 27, okay? No, not attack bonus. That's okay. That's close that one. And spell with reflex save of 27. That is called Fireball, let's say. At 1 target, will deal at 5th level spell slot. It will deal 10d6. 10d6 damage. Also, let's assume that you attack with a slingshot, which at this point should be plus 15, I believe. Plus 15, I believe. Probably. Wait, level 9 character. Level 9 character that. Okay, with. Okay, that's because it's a druid. This one and. Oh yeah, this one had 1 less dexterity. Okay, at level 9. this guy over here has only like +3 to dexterity, which normally any other druid would have over here, but I didn't want to do constitution, so this would be like +1, so this would be like 14, plus also your potency rune for potency rune, that's +1, so that's L, so that's over here. Wait a second, where's the DPR? Okay, so that's +15 for a sling that I assume will deal, because I probably assume that your druid also packed something into strength, because it's probably, since it turns into a dinosaur, then it's probably, you know, a wild druid, so probably also has some strength, and a sling is a propulsive weapon, because I just assume that it's that this one took a sling and didn't take anything else to like take a composite longbow or anything like this. Okay, I'm just assuming an average guy. So +15, so this would be, at this point, that would be like 2d6, I think, +1, because of strength. 2d6 +1, okay? And this is the first turn. Then I assume that you would reload the weapon as your first action. And then also, oh no, this one close. Over here, spell, Electric Arc to 27 AC, to 27 to Reflex. Electric Arc, which is, at this point, because it's 5th level spell slots, that would be 5d4 plus your Wisdom, that's 4. 60 damage, and I'm going to duplicate Electric Arc and duplicate also this one. Okay, so you see, in the entire combat, they will probably deal, the dinosaur form will deal a bit more damage over here. Understandable. But that's if we take a single target. That's if we take a single target into consideration. Because most likely if you pick Fireball, if you use Fireball, you will probably try to hit at least 2 targets. And now that we have with Fireball, it shows that, wow, now the Fireball has more DPR. Okay. And just maybe close the sling once, okay? Close the sling once. Oh wait, still more damage? And wait, since it's Fireball and we have 2 targets, let's assume that the first one didn't kill one of them. And let's just assume that it hit. And wow, now like almost 50% more DPR. If we just like take normal, if we just take one highest level spell slot and also then spam cantrips. It's almost like the dinosaur form is a spell that is focused on hitting one target and also kind of tanking for your team, while Fireball and Electric Arc are spells that are better at area for hitting multiple enemies. It's almost like different spells in Pathfinder and probably older TTRPGs have different functions depending on the combat. And it almost seems like, you know, in terms of, and it almost seems like among the GM's job, the GM should make sure that it doesn't get boring and sets some combats that would, in a situation, and sets up some combats that probably just would align, because at this point with your like, what I assume, because just don't even hit, this wouldn't deal less damage if you know, it wouldn't deal too much less damage if, you know, just like these two electric arcs had one target, because at this point, in 2 turns, you essentially deal more damage. You deal more damage, let's say roughly the same, at this guy in 3 turns. And also, and you expend the same spell slot unless you're playing the Wild Druid. But yeah, that's pretty much what I want to say. That's how the DPR works, okay? That's how the DPR works in this situation. The GM's job, the thing that I think that this dude forgot, is that the GM's job is to make different encounters. Because, you know, I hope that my players do not get mad at me if I get into the, like, over here, into this one. Because at this point I decided that rather than just a normal encounter, my group will have a little like puzzle-like encounter, okay? So they could just fight this guy, okay? But this guy, whenever something fell and or was like close, because this is a blind camel with giant teeth. Whenever something like fell close to the camel, within its tremor sense, then the camel lashed out and just tried to bite it. So the players decided to lure, because they noticed a giant hand, and decided to lure the camel into a hand. And then the hand moved and threw the camel inside of the giant figure's mouth, which ate the camel. I know that it may sound like really weird, like carnivorous camel that just bites through rocks and this giant statue, but okay, like I'm having a campaign based on like 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, and over here they're like fighting famine. Like they're not really fighting famine, but they're going through like the famine's backstory and stuff like this. Because I love making backstory for big bad guys. So yeah, let's go back to
follow up and provide more specifics. So here we are. Let's be a horse. Addressing the elephant in the room. I am incredibly disappointed in the rude, condescending, and frankly belittling comments directed towards myself and my players this week. Furthermore,
Rule Sawyer was like the most polite guy over here. Also, Nonat was really polite. Like, I think that you've received like, at least to my knowledge, you've received like 2 rude comments. 2 rude comments, like ever. I mean, that's just to my knowledge. I don't scroll through every comment. Okay. And there are people that wouldn't do this on their public account, so they probably just send it on like a Twitter DM account, but like Twitter out or something like this. But I don't know.
I'm disappointed in the lack of back and forth dialogue and discussion that usually takes place in the comment section whenever I do.
Like, okay. Because this is one-sided pretty much, you know. Because I don't. Okay, let's just search the comments. Let's just search the comments. Yeah, this is like the most rude comment I ever made in my life. And yeah, like you see, this isn't rude at all. And let's say. And okay, I see that Cody did not. Okay, so I don't see Cody responding to any comment, just like. Because I just see a few hearts over like comments that are not even tied to the discussion itself. Because if you want back and forth discussion, you need to make back and forth discussion, you know.
Do a video like this. I'm no stranger,
Okay.
okay, to having people disagree with me, but the downright disrespect and tone I've seen in the little gathered communities on the internet is incredibly disheartening.
Okay, maybe.
But the real kicker I want to talk about here is just how little genuine discussion these individuals offered up.
Okay, because you didn't engage in the discussion.
I saw response videos and I read comments on Twitter where people said over and over, just be more creative.
Okay, like, come here. You can debate me. Like, you can debate me. You can debate me. Like, you've probably quit YouTube already, seeing at like your upload schedule at this point. But come here. You can debate me. We can have a genuine, like, normal discussion. You know, like even though most like Pathfinder players are like nice, like most Pathfinder players are really optimistic. Okay, I'm really realistic. And I just like see and piece evidence. Okay, I'm pretty realistic, so I'm one of the meaner ones. But like you see my average comments, like, so yeah, like this is like making a point, and this is like my most like aggressive comment I've made since I was like 13 years old. But we don't talk about that age. I was like an edgelord between like 12 and 13.
No, that's all it is. Just be more creative.
Okay.
You just need to be more creative. I don't know why you haven't thought about this, but have you tried being more creative?
Probably with encounters, I mean, like, if you provide like encounters that allow you to, for example, just like I showed before, cast a fireball spell, then yeah. And just like my camel encounter, which, yeah, genuine discussion once again. Like, genuine discussion. Do you think that, like, making an encounter that can be avoided, you've known players taking damage via a simple puzzle, which just straight up allows players to choose whether or not they want to fight a camel? Like, it's like, you know, actually like horrible or something like this, because I see that like as a GM, it's not just about players, you know, because as a GM, you should make encounters so the players are not tired. You know, their first encounter was a ghoul, then they, for example, fought an owlbear, because I wanted to show off like some mechanics with the owlbear of like fear effects and stuff like this. While with ghouls, I just like showcase the healing, making people take damage, and with the camel, I showcase that not every single one of the things takes it's very important. And also I made like an encounter with a doppelganger separately. So yeah, I mean, like I can show you an example. Just, I mean, you showed one example, but I'm going to like, let's come to it.
None of them talk about the feat system. None of them talk about attacks of opportunity and the changes.
Yeah, feat system just gives you more options, so that's quite literally just like giving you more room to do stuff as you explore. And attacks of opportunity, I'm going to tell you, like, for most character, of course, that allows you to like shoot at melee range. Okay, I'm going to say that it allows you to shoot at melee range, so yeah, that's a thing. That's a thing. However, even though it allows you to shoot at melee range and stuff like this, still, attacks of opportunity give you more options for movement. And movement and positioning is a very important thing in Pathfinder, you know. Just behind allies, you know. It would be really hard if someone made an example of like a combat being repetitive, just showing one player and not showing like the allies' interaction. Just as if purposely leaving it out.
It has made in the core game mechanics for 2E. None of them talk about the stuff that I brought up with spells and spell slots and how their players downcast frequently. It's because they don't. None of them talk about how they push and shove and...
Yeah, because okay, players probably will cast spells at highest levels. Okay, yeah. However, like I, at least as a player, try to be really, you know, like try to save up spell slots. Oh, you know, for example, if I'm playing a bard or something like this, I will probably like frequently cast Sanctuary at first level to save up some spell slots instead of like using a stronger defensive spell, you know? unless I know that in this campaign there is little encounters a day, you know. Because like downcasting frequently, normally, if you're like playing in a campaign that has little combat encounters, very little combat encounters, and especially encounters that are strong, that are really strong, then probably the players are going to feel forced. But if you just make a limited amount of like fights, but the fights will be hard, you know, like to make players like downcast and stuff like this, make like easier encounters. However, make more encounters. Then players will probably downcast and won't feel like forced to do everything. And just like mix and match encounters, so players will use different spells and different maneuvers and position differently. Because a fighter fighting a bunch of goblins will probably be more defensive than a fighter that is just trying to fight one big boss that's continuously trying to get a flank. A fighter that fights a boss once and sometimes goblins, for example, like trying to balance between like offense at some combat encounters, some at defense with so many feats, then probably is going to have more fun.
Use skills in combat every single turn because there's so many awesome choices. Because there isn't. And they don't. And they don't. They didn't talk about mistakes because they didn't have anything of substance to.
There is. Like, I mean, like my average character, like my average fighter, usually has both power attack and frightening strike, you know. Frightening strike is a great support option, and power attack is a great just straight up DPR option, you know. But if you have like more characters in the party, like gunslingers and stuff like this, then probably the frightening, and also like spellcasters, then the like frightening strike, I think it is called. Then it will be like better in this situation just to be a team player. But if you just want to deal damage, for example, if you're flanking an enemy, then probably power attack will be better.
Add to their arguments about how my analysis was incorrect, and here's why: because A, B, and C reasons in the game's mechanics. It felt a little to me like those monkeys, you know, those people speak.
Because this is, I'm like breaking it down straight up to you, like I'm breaking it down the most I can.
Evil monkeys just players covering their ears and screaming out into the internet. There's absolutely nothing wrong. La la la. It's your fault. It's your player's fault. I even saw people trying to shift blame to the writers and make excuses for the adventure path we were running. I don't.
Which were you running? Which one were you running? Like Age of Ashes, I believe.
Look, I'm sorry. Is Amanda Hammond not a professional game designer? Is Ella Rivera not a professional game designer? It's like all of the fans of the system wanted to blame everything else but taking an honest look at the game's mechanics.
Like, I'm not even sure if I can call you bro at this point, because at this point it's so fucking redundant. Just like... Wait, let me look. It is the first adventure path to use the 2nd edition rules of Pathfinder role-playing game. Oh wow! Like, this little detail that once again you forgot. Another little detail you forgot. Like, yeah, they are professional game designers, but even if you're professional at something, a professional food, because 1st edition and 2nd edition are like two very different systems, okay? 2nd edition works mostly at maneuvers and giving you more options, while 1st edition was way more linear, you know? Was way more like min-maxy, just to like make one's thing really strong, while the 2nd edition gives you a lot of options, you know? So, you know, like, probably the first work you do after changing the system won't be all that good, you know? It probably will be bad if you do something first at a system that essentially just like flipped 330 degrees, you know? Like once there was an encounter, I think like it was also in Age of Ashes, where in one day we were supposed to make like 8 encounters. I don't know if it was specifically in Age of Ashes or something else. But yeah, like Nonat talked about this, you know? Nonat talked about this. You can see it where like... Yeah, I had like one video. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? There's like one video. Oh yeah, this is probably one like this. Oh yeah, this one. This one. You literally had 11 encounters in a row. Why? Because in first edition it would work, but in second edition it wouldn't work because it's one of the early adventure paths. You know, really early on, you know, when you just start making something, it probably won't be really great because I'm also working, for example, on my own system, and you know, and not everything is really good quality. Okay, the balance is kind of wonky, and for example, I just recorded like the like pop culture to Pathfinder, and you know, the whole thing pop culture to Pathfinder, you know, the whole thing about this it's like I'm going to admit these videos were like really bad. Okay, they were probably comparatively bad to like my alchemist guide, because then I was just starting and I wasn't used to these things, so I was worse at them. You know, almost as if experience brings something. You know, like experience, the thing that you need at pretty much every job right now. Experience, you know. You know what is experience, right? I don't need to pull up a definition.
And talking about their pros and their cons. And if you'll allow
Okay, yeah, sure. I think that Pathfinder does movement worse than D&D. I think that like having movement in a bar rather than just movement, where you just like one action move, then you can attack. For example, if you're trying to move, attack, then probably just like needing to move, attack, and then move to the next enemy and then wait for your next turn to attack and move, once again, is kind of way less fun than, for example, just giving yourself a movement bar, going in between both of these enemies and using your remaining actions to actually hit these enemies. Because I'm going to say, like, yeah, movement is a con in Pathfinder, in my opinion, you know? And recall knowledge is pretty bad. And recall knowledge is pretty bad because it just gives you common information normally, you know? But this can be fixed with homebrew once again, which, you know, you need way less of it than in D&D.
Brief moment to be upset on behalf of my players.
Okay.
A bunch of abuse they did not deserve from those anonymous commenters on the internet.
What abuse? Like, you know, maybe prepare a fireball. Oh my gosh, it's such abusive. Like, that's how it looks, at least to me. Like, unless there is some sort of like, in like direct messages, there's some sort of like a group of people that send them their threats in like the messages. Even though I don't really know if like your players are public, are like public or something like this. Because you know, you already said that we know nothing about your group, so I don't know even how could we reach your players directly, unless it's just like you show them comments and look, this person told you to prepare fireball. This person is evil, or something like this. Unless this, then I don't see a way. Just please explain it to me.
Internet this week who don't know a damn thing about my players. I mean, would it surprise you to learn that 60% of the players in this group are between the ages of 40 and 60 years old? Probably not.
Yeah, once again, how did they know?
Also, members of my Founders Get This campaign that I've talked about several times before. So they've been with me over 2 years through 2 totally different campaign systems or game systems and 2 totally different campaign styles. I mean, maybe, just maybe, they might be maybe a little more creative than you're giving them credit for, and these commenters didn't.
Experience doesn't equal. Even though I say that experience is very important, and you get better at stuff with experience, experience doesn't necessarily equal creativity. Okay. You know, especially because you also know nothing about this anonymous commenter. Maybe this commenter also played for like 5 years. You know, I do acknowledge that some people have talent and some people have less talent, but also experience is important. You know, experience is important, especially if writing an adventure path and making something good. You know, but you know, if you just keep repeating the same thing over and over 2 years, then you probably won't get like more flexible you'll just get better. You'll just probably keep doing this thing if you do it over the years. But if you try to make like flexible options over the years, then probably you will get better.
And don't have a clue about how my players creatively approach a multi-level tower by wild shaping into a scroll to fly to higher levels and free prisoners from chain devils while sealing off sections of slavers with wall of force and literally tearing through other sections of the walls and into the stairwell as a dragon to chase down a powerful enemy caster before they can teleport away.
Okay.
One group just 2 weeks ago made the brilliant deduction that the area they were infiltrating actually had 2 distinct groups that had agreed to work together, and that they were not so intertwined that perhaps my players couldn't take out some of the slavers and pass themselves off as the slavers to the other group instead, completely and utterly overcoming an encounter with nothing more than their wits and
Yeah, like how you say this. I mean, this first one I agree. It was pretty creative. The second one, even though we're not like talking 100% creativity, the second one wasn't really like all that creative, because even in normal group, like you don't need to like deduct this, but you say this in a way that makes it seem more creative than it is. Like, wow, you can take like some bandits were like ropes. Okay, so like put on the bandits ropes and you may pass yourself off as a bandit. Like, that's pretty much an old trick in the book. Okay, that's pretty much an old trick, pretty much.
creativity without initiative even being rolled, just good old-fashioned roleplay and creativity. Did they know anything about how my players cleverly use the wand web as a safety net to escape an exploding cliffside temple, aka GoldenEye 007, or how they discovered a plausible planned ambush by polymorphing into an insect, and how quite literally they became a fly on the wall to discover that the councilwoman had been replaced by a necromancer under the illusory disguise spell that they had previously defeated before allowing to escape? No.
Okay, I'm pretty sure. I don't know if this is like a mess up or you're trying to pass off as genuine without like actually doing so. I mean, the first one was pretty creative, but the other ones get like comparatively like way less creative as it goes on. Like, okay, yeah, you did the thing that everyone does in every like kids movie, in like the Arthur movie, in like a lot of movies. Like everyone uses web as a safety net. That's like pretty much a common thing in pop culture, you know? And like others, wow, you turn into an insect. And like spite on people by being an insect. Like just open any D&D subreddit and within like first 50 posts there will be at least like one about like polymorphing into an insect to hide.
The commenters didn't know any of that, but just really dismissed my assessment of the game's mechanics as nothing more than my fault, my player's fault, or even the writer's fault, without offering any analysis of their own to refute my assessments about the game's mechanics.
Okay, I will show my...
Texas, it's just a lot of people talking out their asses. Okay, now that I've had a chance to defend my players,
I will show my
in
examples.
several places was about how I said my players were forced to play optimally. This was probably the biggest issue I had with several of the response videos, and I just want to verify, if you can watch it, that's actually not what I said. I said the game's mechanics give the players the feeling of being forced. The mechanics give the players the feeling of being forced to play optimally.
Okay, I can feel that your player might feel forced, okay? For some reason. Especially if they're trying to min-max or something like this, you know? Which is really hard to do in Pathfinder. However, once again, the whole game, you know, is mostly a GM thing, you know? Because if you give like many variable encounters, then yeah. If you give many variable encounters, then you know, just probably transforming into a tyrannosaur or something like this on every encounter won't be pretty much as optimal, you know. As I showed before as an example, if there are more like at least 2 enemies caught in your like line of fire, then fireball will be way more effective than like the animal shape.
There's a big difference between being forced and feeling forced, okay? I force my son to brush his teeth before he goes to bed. I feel forced to compliment my wife when she asks me how she looks. Get the difference? It is my belief, after giving a year of my life to Pathfinder 2e, that the game's core mechanics do not offer enough interesting choices for the players during combat to justify the overcomplexity of the ordinary mundane actions that could and should be
overcomplexity.
And I have receipts that will prove and illustrate all of my points here.
Okay.
Another big accusation in these comments was that my players were simply min-maxers, okay? And the reason they were beating sequence of actions is because all they cared about was optimizing, alright? They're just a bunch of optimizers. Let's go ahead and address that one real quick. To do that, let's be specific and talk about the Pathfinder 2e Ranger. Now, as a reminder, because apparently I do have to keep repeating myself for it to sink in for people, the illusion of choice is not during character creation.
Okay, listen here, min-maxing doesn't mean just like making your character as strong as possible. Min-maxing means just trying to do the thing that does most optimal thing, aka doing most damage, which your players feel forced to do, which, you know, You don't really need to do like during like one of the like sessions that I ran earlier for a new group. Like a war priest decided to like throw down a shield down on the ground to kick his ally and then come up to the monster. I think. Or what was it? Like, did he come up to the monster? I don't recall. He either switched grip on his weapon or like came to the monster and stuff like that. But yeah, he wasted actions. But this wasn't an extreme encounter, so this doesn't really matter too much, you know. As long as you do like normal encounters, then probably your players won't feel forced to min-max, you know? Like, unless they are min-maxers, you know? If you're doing a mundane encounter, and they just feel forced to do the most optimal thing in a normal encounter, in an average encounter, then yes, they're min-maxers. But if they feel, because of how combats are structured, which from an experience of being a GM, I'm going to say that, you know, it depends on the GM, because the GM structures encounters, unless you're playing a pre-written adventure, which, yeah, you were playing, but I think that, but you know, I think that because of that you play a pre-written adventure, like, either Age of Ashes was this bad, I don't know, I didn't really play, but I know that it was the first adventure, and I know that it was, like, pretty bad. But I don't know if this was this bad, okay? Because if you feel forced to optimize, then probably, you know, if you feel forced to optimize, then probably the encounters were really, really, like, weird. Like, really strong.
But rather, after initiative has been rolled with your choices inside combat. I'm not talking about roleplay, I'm not talking about character design, okay? I'm talking about how the game mechanics and core game design create that illusion of choice inside combat. Did we all do that? Okay. Was that specific enough? Okay. So you want to make a ranger for your next Pathfinder 2e game, and you come up with your background level 1, and so you get to pick between 5 choices for your first. That's it. Nothing fancy or over the top.
Okay.
Very reasonable ranger with a bow trope. You are level 1, and so you get to pick between 5 choices for your first feat. Your choices are between animal companion, crossbow ace, hunted shot, monster hunter, and twin takedown. 5 totally and completely different choices here.
Alright, gravity weapon was probably added in IPG, okay. Nice.
But you want to shoot arrows with your bow. So, Animal Companion, it isn't really the vibe you're going for. Neither is crossbow based. Twin Takedown is all about double striking with your sword. Hunted Shot lets you fire 2 arrows as one action, so probably pretty good. And Monster Hunter lets you point at something to briefly get your teammate +1 to hit it at any one time. So, you take Hunted Shot. Not super power gaming, okay? You took the one choice you had that helped your bow be a little better. That's all. Now, you also get 2 abilities at level 1 as part of your core class. Hunt Prey, which takes an action and gives you some bonuses to seeking out your opponent. And Hunter's Edge, which, when you fire arrows against your hunted prey, you get a bonus to your bow's damage if you choose the bow option here and not the sword option. I mean the
bow option and not the sword option. Sorry, just all of them I can see. All of them say core rulebook, and they're all on the same page. Which one is the sword option? Okay, precision deals extra damage. Which, okay, it's reasonable. It's reasonable to assume that you probably were talking about precision. Okay, because it deals extra damage, and most bows usually deal less damage. So it's probably feasible to assume that you meant precision. And for the sword option, it's okay to assume that you probably chose flurry because, like, most melee, because, you know, ranged weapons rarely have the agile trait, which is really good with flurry. Like, really, really good with flurry, if you're using an agile weapon. But you forgot outwit. And yeah, flurry also works with bows and stuff like this. Precision also works with melee weapons. And outwit just gives you AC, so probably a melee, but also gives you bonuses to, like, deception and intimidation checks. Which, you know, deception and intimidation are charisma skills, which you probably sacrifice strength for, so also these work better at range, while also we have bonus AC that is good for melee. So yeah, all of them are versatile enough to be able to choose them in different options.
The level of power gaming here is already insane, right? I mean, level 1, and we've already started down the path as those min-maxers. Next thing you know, if you're not careful, you'll be putting points in your dexterity score. Like, whoa, you're right.
Moment ago you said it wasn't about character creation.
unstoppable force of min-maxing optimization, guys. You should slow down. So during those first few fights at level 1, you could attack if you didn't have to move closer. For level 2, you skip favorite terrain, hunter's aim, monster warden, because that's technically triggered off of monster hunter as though it were a pure feat tree, even though, you know, many people say more than DVR without any roleplay or any creativity, because you took the one bow feat at level 1, and at level 2 you thought maybe you could draw your bow quicker if things got back to your group. Level 3, you take Hefty Hauler for your general feat, because you think it fits well with your character's background of hunting large game and having to carry your kills back to beat traps. And for your third ranger feat at level 4, you snag up Far Shot, which is pretty weak, just increasing your arrow's distance, but it fits with that flavor of being a cool archer ranger pretty well, so you snag it up. Yeah. Sarcasm aside, okay, let's put this ranger inside of combat right now. Right now, let's throw it up against the ranger. What do you do? In all of these fights, they hunt prey, fitting a CR4 mimic hiding in the master sweep now. Right now, let's throw it up against a flying CRA chimera in a mountain battle.
Okay, flying chimera. So that's a ranged foe, you need to use your bow. Okay.
Let's throw it up against a hidden away CR4 mimic hiding in the master suite of abandoned manor house.
Okay, mimic. A thing that is really good at close range, and will probably maul you if you get at close range to it. And it's a single creature, so probably it's like higher CR, higher level than the party. So yeah, probably you don't want to get close to that. So yeah, another one where you cannot really get close to it.
Let's throw the ranger in the party up against a pair of ghouls, a pair of ghasts that rise up defending a tower.
And over here I got confused in the last video, okay? Because Ghast... Because over here, okay, I got confused before, I think. Because I see that now these Ghasts don't have the thing... Don't have like a fly speed before, because I thought before that Ghast has a fly speed, okay? However, probably when you're fighting Ghasts and ghouls like this, you may, for example, try to flank the enemy, or probably if you... Because you chose a short bow, I think. As far as I know, you chose a short bow. Okay, so if you chose a short bow, then... wait, what was I talking about? Okay, you took a short bow, what does short bow? Okay, if you took a short bow, you don't need really points in your strength, right? So you probably put it into charisma, or maybe like intelligence, and you for example can, like, if you have a lore, you picked an additional lore as like your skill feat, because I don't remember if he took our skill feats. You can for example take additional lore, and if you have undead lore, then you can recall knowledge to get some information to give to your party so they can take advantage of it. However, with how recall knowledge works, then probably with just normal one. And since it's a party of ghouls and ghasts, then probably you may want to like get close to ranger and make the ranger actually deal damage, and then, for example, for the fighter to get to the ranger and attempt to fight and have like to make a decision whether or not you want to like stay in front lines or help the ranger, because probably then you will like endanger the wizard or like other party member. So yeah, like range, that depends all on positioning. With like ghouls and ghasts, then you may want to do different things. For example, if you have once again intelligence, if you took crafting, then you can for example craft a ghost charge before. And then if you have a ghost charge, you can actually like throw the ghost charge bomb at them to deal like a lot of damage.
For an entrance to a necromancer's lair, your adrenaline's pumping, ranger. It's your turn. You have reactions. What do you do? In all of these fights, they hunt prey, hunted shot, and fire a third volley. The same thing they did.
Yeah, in two first ones, I would say probably hunt prey. In two first ones, I would probably say hunt prey, demoralize, and then fire the first, and then like fire the hunted shot, most likely, or maybe feint instead of demoralizing to give yourself a chance to crit the enemy, or do something else, maybe pull out a bola or something like this, and attempt to get it on the ground, so the fighter with a sword, because just like you, I will assume that there are like some other teammates, like you assume in the example. I'm going to assume like the fighter with a sword, generate fighter with a sword, which doesn't have really any range options, would really appreciate it if you throw a bola at it or something like this to knock it down. Or maybe you want to like or maybe you tell the GM that you want to precisely shoot it in the wing so it cannot fly. So it has trouble flying. So now the fighter will be able to actually like attack it on the ground, and will be able to be like dogpile. Maybe then, if you shoot down the Chimera, you can maybe just pull out your sword and then flank it, so the fighter has an easier chance to actually hit the enemy, the Chimera. With the second one, since it's a mimic, I'm going to actually admit, yeah, over here you will probably hunt prey, and then probably once again use one of your like skill actions, or demoralize the, like use one of your skill actions, or like use one of your skill action and then use hunted shot, or probably hunted shot and then fire a third volley. Even though I don't know why would you fire a third volley, because I assume that you use precision and do not use the one that just increases the amount of hits that you can do. Because, you know, the character creation is important, and people talk about it because the character creation gives you like the options that you have, you know. For example, if you maybe play it with like free archetype variant rule, then you would get like way more options that you, for example, could pick like some other archetype for like hunting and stuff like this. Maybe you picked intimidation and now you took a pirate dedication, even though you don't need to be a pirate for that, but still gives you some options. Maybe you, I don't know, if you went for strength, maybe you picked like sentinel dedication to get like some heavy armor, and then you're armored in this, so you can actually like drop your bow and then use a greatsword. It will have like minus to hit pretty much, but however it will be like really good in terms of offense if you actually switch to it. Especially if you like pick precision, then it will deal a lot of damage.
Been doing in every single combat situation since that first session. Assuming, of course, they don't have to escape from the mimic's clutches first. I mean, can we spice up these combats even further by giving the players more things to engage with in their environments? Sure we can. But trying to point the finger at all three of these very different creature types, of three very different environments, is
yeah. First one is you can get to it. The second one you don't want to get to it. And the third one I agree. Yeah, it's different creature types because they're undead. But then you don't need to like do hunt prey hunted shot once again. Even with Chimera you cannot do you don't need to do hunt prey hunted shot. You can actually try to knock it out from the air to give your allies ability, and then flank the Chimera to give your fighter probably like a bonus, you know, circumstance bonus to hit, because if fighter crits, then it gets like critical specialization effects, which are really strong.
Purposefully choosing to be contrary and avoiding the core issue endpoint. Even if temporarily altered by the enemies and combat scenes, if you will, the players will continue to push through the rotations of optimal actions whenever given the choice. And they do this without being power gamers or running the numbers real quick or being statisticians. They do this because it's what the game's core engine and mechanics nudge them to do. You have reactions, you hunt prey, hunted shot, fire off the third arrow, if you don't use one reactions to maybe move over a little.
Like, I would agree that you probably want to use hunted shot because it like slows, it makes you spend less actions. I will agree with that, okay? That it makes you spend less actions. So you probably nudge to use the hunted shot that you picked. Okay? I agree with that. And because it's a ranger, then probably doing the first action of the turn, then you'll probably use hunt prey. But you know, you hunt prey at the first action, and I think that hunt prey, once again, let's go back to hunt prey. Because with hunt prey, where's hunt prey? Yeah. So do tracking doing exploration. You can pass on within your. You can see only one creature at prey at a time. If you use hunt prey against a creature when you already have a creature, your designation lasts until your next daily preparations. So that means if you like hunt prey once, you don't need to hunt prey constantly, you know? Like, hunt prey, like, okay, doing the first turn. But then during other turns, you cannot really do hunt prey hunted shot unless you kill the enemy immediately. Which I'm going to tell you doesn't really happen that often.
Fast forward the clock and look at level 10 and level 12, and I assure you, they'll still be doing the same thing. Hunt, pray, hunt, shot, fire off 30 arrow. So if you go back and check out my podcast,
Like that really depends if they choose some other options like with dedication and stuff like this, because probably they will also use skill actions. Okay, you have like a limited amount in terms that you will probably want to like use maybe deception to like feint the enemy, maybe use intimidation and stuff like this, maybe use athletics or something like this. But you know, you get 3 skills that you get to focus on mostly if you want to get them to legendary, which once again later you probably will be able to even like reveal machinations to actually like the more like make the enemy frightened with your deception, which will give it minuses which will work with spellcasters. I mean, it's mostly a team game. Like, as far as I see, you don't like use any stuff like demoralize to actually like give your allies a chance, you know, because the most important thing in Pathfinder is how your actions interact with your allies. Okay, Pathfinder is like just like D&D. I mean, like, I understand why you would be confused. D&D is a game where everyone is a player, you know, and even if you work as a team, then unless you're probably a cleric or like some wizards, then you will probably just be focused on your own thing and probably just spam fireball, spam attack. You will just focus on your own stuff, what you do. But in Pathfinder you need to constantly keep in mind what your teammates are doing in terms of positioning and stuff like this.
I had a player who was playing a ranger, and within, I want to say 7 to 8 episodes, you will hear his rotation in combat, every combat. It's the same rotation. We play all the way from level 1 to level 16. For the ranger, it's hunt, pray, hunt, and shot, throw in a third shot that usually misses. My druid... Was that the rotation your ranger used? Yeah, that's the exact rotation.
Okay, you showed one. Okay, you showed one example. I hope that you show more examples across the video, right? Right? You will show more examples across the video. You won't just show one example that agrees with you. You won't just show one example that agrees with you and just ignore all the examples that disagree with you and do not react to them. Right?
Why? Because it's literally the best thing to do, which is no different than 5th edition, by the way. And I know that this is the exact point in which all the response videos will likely have paused to yell in disagreement because I use the phrase best thing to do here. But again, that's just a way of avoiding talking about the game's mechanics with trying to catch my pieces off in that perfect gotcha moment. Of course, guys, of course players don't have to do the best thing all the time. Of course, okay? If that's all the discussion has, you're missing the point. And I would argue that you're missing the point on purpose because you're experiencing cognitive dissonance. Feel free to disagree with me, but that's my opinion. But, for fun, let's take a direct comparison between the Pathfinder Ranger choices and the notoriously bad 5th edition Ranger class. For this example.
Notoriously bad. Okay, wait a second, because, you know, Ranger isn't notoriously bad, you know. I think that this came out... When did this come out? 2 years ago, and it's 2023, so it's safe to assume that it came out like after Tasha's Cauldron and everything came out, right? Because I'm going to tell you, since Xanathars, we got Gloomstacker that as long as you sit in the shadow, you have advantage on every attack and disadvantage. And enemies have disadvantage on all attacks against you. Okay, wait. Once again, I passed in a perfect moment. Like, this is like the only really... yeah, another perfect moment. Like, I'm going... Wait, what was I talking about? Yeah, since Xanathars came out, you got the Gloomstacker that is really strong. That is, like, really, really strong. Regardless of where, if you play as melee person or like as ranged person, Gloomstacker is really, really strong. And now since Tasha came out, you also get like the optional things for Rangers that actually fix Ranger. Because why Ranger was considered bad wasn't because of its DPR and stuff like this. It was because most of its features were situational things that are out of combat, for roleplay mostly. But now you have straight up stuff that just gives you bonus spells, gives you an ability to just ping your target and then deal extra damage. And yeah, right now Ranger, compared to other martials, is probably like is just like behind Paladin. I know that like Paladin is technically not a martial, it's a hybrid class, but I'm going to tell you, like, Ranger is better than pretty much every martial that we have currently. Unless you're talking about like a really min-maxy build on early levels.
We'll pair our 2 Rangers with a buddy and slide over into a fight between a pair of nasty whites. Since both
Okay,
of them
with a buddy. I hope that that buddy isn't just used so you can demonstrate flanking mechanics in both, just to count the DPR of a single ranger without counting for the ranger's ally.
by the respective systems to be a CR3. And we'll set the level for all 4 of our characters to level 5, since that seems to be a good benchmark for really both game systems.
Okay,
Our
yeah,
level
sure.
5, Pathfinder Ranger has just picked up natural medicine at level 5, so they
Sure.
can use their nature skill to treat wounds. Meanwhile, our level 5 D&D Ranger has gone Hunter Colossus Slayer at level 3. And just so we can make the comparison really as equal as possible, while I won't give the Pathfinder Ranger any magic items, okay, freely admitting that, I will give the 5e Ranger simple moon touch weapons just for the sake of overcoming the 5e white
Okay,
resistance, which the
that
Pathfinder
seems
does not have.
fair,
Here,
that's
we have
fair.
2 identical combats taking place. For the sake of the argument, let's just say that this is already in the middle of combat, but neither the Pathfinder's Hunt Prey or the D&D's Hunter's Mark are active at the moment. And I won't even go into the details for the fighters just
Okay.
to keep things simple. On the left, I think y'all's left over here.
I knew that. I remember this moment. I just remembered. I reacted to this once, but seriously, he won't go to the details with the fighter. Like, of course, D&D is a game that, even though it's a team game in a sense that every single player is just fighting on one team, okay? That this is not a free-for-all. This is only like real team aspect of D&D, especially in this situation, you know? When Pathfinder is really focused on teamwork, you know?
Side of the screen, you have the Pathfinder 2 game, and on the right, you have the 5th edition game. Let's examine for a moment a basic strike and a basic attack for our 2 systems so we can see what the numbers look like. For our Pathfinder Ranger, they currently have 18 dexterity, which, after being moved to expert for martial weapons from the weapon expertise class feature, that gives them a plus 13 modifier at level 5 to hit with their longbow. The Pathfinder White, as listed on page 332, the Pathfinder 2 Bestiary, has an 18 armor class, giving our Ranger a whopping 80% chance to hit, and because any result of 10 or more in excess of target's AC turns our success into a critical success, we also have a 30% chance, which is the same odds of crit. Now, for a score of 16, it gives us a plus of just Ranger as it's their turn. Gives our Ranger a 75% chance to score a hit, with 5% of that being our critical range. Now, let's slide back over to our Pathfinder Ranger as it's their turn. So what we're going to do here is go over a few different options based on the game's core unbreak, hunted shot, strike. Because I think when I use good day, guys, good day, we got him. He said best. We got nothing to see here. Move on. Not very disingenuous way. Like, he said the most obvious. Because I think when I use one as a sort of baseline. Now, notice that I did not use the word best here, right? I replaced it with simply most obvious. Because I think when I used the word best in my last video, people try to just really jump all over it in a very disingenuous way. Like, he said best. He's a power gamer. We heard it. He said best. Good day, guys. Good day. We got him. He said best. We got nothing.
You know, this is a very common strategy among people to like win arguments, you know? You just latch on to one argument that the person did, you know? And then turn it into a thing. And this might sound like it's in a support of this guy, but no. Like, quite literally, he latches on few basic mechanics, like the like Pathfinder guys just focus on the best, you know? Like, this is like 70 minutes of the video, and he focused so much on this that he uses best and stuff like this and word optimally, you know? Like he latches onto it to just make it subconsciously to use sim. Like it's the only thing that Pathfinder players have. Which once again with the DPR calculator I demonstrated that it's not.
Let me see here, move on. Power gamer, that's all it is. So, I'm replacing the word best here with most obvious set of actions. And I think it describes really what I'm talking about even better. It's the most obvious choice of actions. Okay, so option 1, they could right with their first action, triggering their Hunter's Edge. Then with their second action, they could, guess what? Hunted Shot and fire 2 shots with the first as an 80% chance to hit and 30% chance to crit, triggering the longbow's deadly trait, followed by your second shot as a 55% chance to connect and 5% chance to crit. And then with...
Even if I did this, then I would probably aim for the white near the fighter, you know. The white probably doesn't take cover from this as far as I see, because I recreated 2 on my own map, even though it's not about a white this time, you know. It's this time not about a white. This time it's not about I mean, like, even though, just imagine this is the exact same positioning, you know. I just counted the amount of squares in between them, you know. It still just like showed over here. It's like distance of like 25 feet to move over here, because I assume that this ranger has a distance of speed of 25 feet, right? Because it's Pathfinder, it's not D&D with 30. Would be really disingenuous if someone put a character. It would be really disingenuous if someone put a character just like far enough so you need to waste one more action to actually move towards the enemy. This would be really disingenuous, but let's go back to the video.
Firing a third arrow with a 30% chance to connect and a 5% chance to crit for the white's average 50 hit points. A very effective choice that utilizes the first peak choice we made during the creation, right? Go figure. We picked the peak, and I'm not going to go into the details of the full map, okay? You'll just have to take my word for it, or in melee combat, to cut off and protect their fighter from hitting. For this, they'll strike up next to the white, and then use quick draw to retrieve their melee weapon, and strike as one action, and then strike with their third action. Assumingly, we'll just have to continue to hold our bow with our other hand, which is perfectly legal in the rules, and that's why we didn't need to stow it first or drop it. In this instance, I am assuming the ranger has a short sword equipped instead of a rapier.
With dropping, you don't need to even wait like an action. And personally, if I were like a ranger like this, I would probably come up, drop my weapon as a free action, and then probably just like pull out with quick draw, Elven Curve Blade or something like this.
For that versatile trait to deal slashing if need be. And because the short sword has the finesse trait, so they can use their dexterity modifier in place of that strength. That gives us a single attack at an 80% chance to connect with the same 30% crit chance as the bow's first strike. And guess what? A single attack at 55% chance to connect with 5% of that being our critical range. This, of course, will also forego the Hunter's Edge bonus completely, so no additional D8 here. And of course, the Ranger won't be able to utilize their hunted shot feat on their following turn unless they reverse actions and retrieve and use their...
Even though, wait. Quick draw and then strike once again. Even though technically, in order to actually do setup, then why don't you... Then I'm going to guess that next you will examine, because you are a very genuine person, you will examine what will happen if you strike. Then, if you just like use Hunter's Edge, like your Hunt Prey, and then quick draw, the last, and you will examine multiple turns to see how it scales over time. Just like I did with a couple of examples that took a while over here that I did before.
Well, this gives us an average output of 3.8 points of damage on the first attack and a 2.01 on the second with a strength score of 10, which is a decrease from our first option of a whopping 65% on average. If we compare the difference in the maximum potential, we'll also
wait
the
a
same short
second.
third action. Aside using hit points on crit as an 80% chance to hit and 30% chance to crit, triggering the longbow's deadly percentage. So we got nothing to see here, malfunction they could. Guess what? Hunted chance to connect, and third, assumingly, we'll just have to have a short modifier.
Wait a second. Where is the white? White 2e. Okay, white. Sure. What are white's defenses? Okay, here we just care that it's 18 AC. That's its 18 AC. That's all that really will matter over here when we count DPR. Okay, so close that one over here, add this, and just compare this with the damage of the fighter. Which over here, let's say, just in case, so we need to like compare it later, okay? Because, okay, Hunt Prey, Hunted Shot, because, wait, Hunted Shot, once again, what did the Hunted Shot did? Okay, it decreased, okay, decreased it by T5, which is, wait, that's minus 25.
Chance to hit and 30% chance to crit, triggering the longbow's deadly trait, followed by your second shot is a 55% chance to connect and 5% chance to crit. And then, with their third action, they could strike, firing a third arrow with the...
Okay. Let me see. Okay, so since it's a short bow, how much was the bonus? So that's plus 13 to hit, okay. So it's fair to assume that the fighter will have plus 15, okay? Fighter 1, then Ranger 2. And fighter. And fighter 2, okay. All of them will fight against a white that has an AC of 18. 18. Except this one, because over here we assume that the ranger is flanking in this situation, okay? So if we go for hunt prey, then hunted shot for 2 shots, so that's 13 bonus to hit. That's assuming that it's still... how much does it deal? I hope that you gave out magic items.
Longbow's deadly trait, followed by your second shot is a 55% chance to connect and a 5% chance to crit. And then, with their third action, they could strike, firing a third arrow with a 30% chance to connect and a 5% chance to crit. 30% of the time, on just that first shot alone, we're dealing an average of 23.5 points of damage.
Okay. Let's say, okay. Let's say, did you add runes? Because that's 1d... Because, okay, that should be 2d6 plus... That should be 2d6 plus what? Wait. Once again, let me just go back to this, guys. Okay, but this does, so this doesn't show the actual damage output. Okay, so it doesn't show runes. But I'm going to assume like the average, since it's a 5 level ranger. You don't get any specialization, I think, right? You don't need specially. No, you don't get it until level 7. So okay, but you still are at 5th level, so I assume that you have like the 2 dice, 2d6, which with hit damage, oh yeah, plus 1d, plus 1d10, okay, 9.5. Oh wait, normal hit will be 2 dice types then. So 2d6 plus once again, like, what's the Hunter's Edge bonus? Because I'm pretty sure looking at it that he chose precision. Okay, so that's plus 1d8 precision damage. 1d8 precision damage. Next one will be then plus 8 to hit, and then 2d6 plus, because of that, 2d6, yeah, that's plus deadly 1d10, and then duplicate that, which, because that's 3 attacks in a turn, and this one has 3 bonus to hit, has 21.5 damage, if I am counting it correctly, right? If I typed everything correctly. So I assume I did.
Second shot is a 55% chance to connect and a 5% chance to crit. And then, with their third action, they could strike, firing a third arrow with a 30% chance to connect and a 5% chance to crit. 30% of the time, on just that first shot alone, we're dealing an average of 23.5 points of damage or...
On the first shot alone? What? Huh? 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 Wait, you deal more damage on average on the first shot. Because I assume that, yeah, they have 18 AC. Okay. And they do not have... like weakness to piercing, right? They do not have weakness to piercing. How did you conclude that the white deals more damage at the first attack than Ranger does on all of its attacks? And let's assume, okay, that the fighter is a guy with power attack. Okay, just... Okay, and let's assume fighter in this singular role or something like this. Oh wait, I need to also lower the ranger later, but okay, up to 5th level, you do not have weapon specialization, right? However, you get +2 to hit. That's all you get, okay. So let's go back to the DPR. So that's 15 over here. I will assume that you will hit one. That you will hit once. Which at this point with power attack at level 5. Which power attack at level 5. Yeah, it still deal. Okay. So it still deals 1 die of damage. Okay. So I will assume that over here, because I assume that the fighter has a greatsword over here, I will assume that the fighter deals 3d12 damage plus strength, so that's +4. Okay. With Ranger 2, we're working this time with enemy AC of 16 after you came up with your probably like short sword something, because this time, okay, I'll assume that this is a short sword and I don't know what bonus do we have to short sword. But we will look later.
Or in essence, roughly half of the white's average 50 hit points. A very effective choice that utilizes the first big choice we...
Yeah, that shot should not work like this, you know. On average, you know, like on average, if you actually look like the Pathfinder calculator, this is not possible to actually like deal. Because I assume that you're fighting with a normal against a normal white. This should not be possible to deal such damage with a short bow unless you are wait. No, even if you decided to add some sort of specialization and also dexterity damage to bow, which is specifically made that you cannot, then even then you probably could not achieve this.
We made during character creation, right? Go figure. We picked a feat and we're using it. In addition, I've included a few more numbers up on the screen here for a frame of reference. Because of how the Hunter's Edge triggers only once a turn, I'm not going to go into the details of the full map.
Okay. So wait. On the first shot, it doesn't deal. Huh?
You'll just have to take my word for it, or maybe not take my word for it, I guess. I don't know. Option 2. Let's say a ranger has been shooting their bow a lot and wants to mix things up by moving up to engage white number 1 in melee combat to cut off him, and then, or drop. In this instance, I am assuming the ranger has a short sword equipped instead of a rapier for that versatile trait to deal slashing if need be. And because the short sword has a finesse trait, so they can use their dexterity modifier in place of that strength. That gives us a single attack at an 80% chance to connect with the same 30% crit chance as the bow's first trait. And guess what? A single attack at 55% chance to connect with 5% of that being our critical range. This, of course, will also forego the Hunter's Edge bonus completely, so no additional DA here. And of course, the ranger won't be able to utilize their hunted shot feat on their following turn unless they reverse actions and...
Even though we know that you could have utilized it to on the later to just use Hunter's Hunter's Edge, I mean Hunt Prey, instead of like this third strike, you could have done, you know, Hunter's Edge before the quick draw.
Or even use their bow. This gives us an average output of 3.8 points of damage on first attack and a 2.01 on the second with a strength score of 10, which is a decrease from our first option of a whopping 65% on average. If we were to compare the difference in the maximum potential damage, that...
And you didn't even count the farther. You won't even count the farther turns. How much will that impact the farther turns? Because on average you will deal some more damage, because right now this is agile. I mean, technically you do make more attacks, but the later attacks deal less damage, and this is agile, so you also assuming that you're at level 5, then you probably will add +3 to your short sword damage. Assuming that you put these points into strength, because I don't see you using any charisma, so I will assume that for my example, also giving myself an edge as my example, just like you, you know. I'm learning something, I think. 13, so this should be 2d6 because it's a short sword. +3 probably, let's say. Because I'm going to assume that... Wait a second. And also... Wait, 2 damage die types. Because I will assume that in the next example, you should just like move, deal 2d6 plus 1d8, because you probably won't waste movement in the stupidest way possible. At least I hope. +3. That's 18 damage. That's 18 damage. You dealt a bit less damage, so yeah, Prey Hunted Shot is still way better. Which with power attack over here, and I will assume that the fighter probably raises a shield maybe or something like this. Over here I will, once again, it's a lower armor class this time, so still 15 for 3d12 plus 4, 34 damage. So looking, even if you went to this, to do this, okay? And that's not assuming that they made one attack and just decided to raise a buckler or something like this. Even though you could do this theoretically and just turn this into a 0. And over here also turn this into a Z. No, not like this, okay. Duplicate this and then turn this into a 0. Calculator. Okay, so yeah, maybe let's add this into one ranger or something like this, so we can like accurately calculate the full DPS. Okay, 15 from the fighter. For the fighter for 3d12 plus 4. And with ranger over here, that's another attack, which will deal for 15 and will deal 3d12 plus 4. Which accurately deals a bit more damage over here, but if we add another attack by duplicating this and putting a 0 over here, it close. Over here we duplicate this and put a 0 over here. Let's say that, okay, close over here because we close this to combine the DPR in the first turn, of course, just the first turn. And this is the average DPR of the entire team if you do this. So actually, if you just move with the ranger over here, okay, even if we remove this, this is still comparable, even if you did need to step, just because you gave the fighter this bonus. This would still be comparable, and you see the damage fall off. Okay, wait. I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to waste my perfect thumbnail. I'm going to open the game. Open GIMP.
That's a drop of 69.3%. But that doesn't tell the whole story, because we should also consider that the ranger is now engaged with the white. So they have, in essence, granted the white an additional action here. Because prior to the ranger's move, the white would have, at minimum, had to at least spend a single action striding to either the ranger or over to the fighter. However, it now can freely stand in place and take all three of its actions attacking the ranger back. So not only have we decreased our own efficiency significantly, but we've also boosted the effectiveness now of our enemy with this choice. For brevity's sake, I won't go into the statistical differences for this white. I think it's easy enough to evaluate as I've already presented it here. Moving on to option 3, we could instead choose to jump to the fighter's aid and engage white number 2. So for our action here, we would stride 25 feet, counting every other diagonal as 10, followed by a 5-foot step to get into our final position. And finally,
Ah yes, my favorite. Math. Okay, let's say, over here how he did this. It's like over here. I think. He moved like this with a stride and then needed to step like this. Even though you can move like this. Even though you can move like this with a stride. Over here and move 25 feet. Okay. And the best part is that he put this purposefully, I think, because looking at how this ingenuous this whole video looks, I think that he put this purposefully. Because at this point you can just move here with 25 feet of movement. You can just like, I don't know, move first over here, then move 20 feet over here, then move 20 feet over here, and then move 5 feet over here with your one movement action. You can move over here correctly in so many ways. I mean, I'm not going to say like so many ways because, like, yeah, you can move here just like 2 ways or something like this. But like honestly, like look at this. Look at this. You can just like move here. And if you're just going really crunchy, just move over here diagonally, over here, this. Oh, see? You can move towards it and you don't need to waste one action to step to the white.
Draw with a strike. This is a slightly better option for us as it allows us to flank for our attack. So this time we have a drop in average damage of 70.3% and a drop in our maximum potential damage to the white of 84.6%. Now again, this also is a set of actions that would completely ignore your hunted chop fee and your hunter's edge bonus until...
Yeah, because you just decided to waste your action that you could have spent on hunting prey. Just to step 5 feet. I mean, to this point, this video like really seems biased. And yes, I know because that I'm kind of biased towards Pathfinder 2nd edition. But I try to engage with open mind because I'm a realist. Okay?
You decided to switch back to that most obvious choice of actions here on your next turn. However, something to consider is that the fighter now has a flanking partner as well. But before we dig into that, we could also argue that yes, while the fighter can now flank, so too can the second one. Both would get that additional 10% boost to their chance to hit, which is why, again, for brevity's sake, I'm not going to go into all of the little...
And also 10% boost to chance to crit. And since level 5, also fighters get a special effect on their crit. And assuming that this is a like great sword or a great axe, I don't know, weapon special. Let's check weapon specializations. Critical specialization effects. Okay, yeah. So if it's an axe, then if it's AC slower than your attack roll, result of the critical attack you do that. Okay, so let's assume that it's a sword, I think. Even though we could also look at the action economy in a mode that is in a hammer group that would essentially knock the enemy prone farther, which would once again make the white need to waste action, then go up and then get hit by an attack of opportunity. if you hit. So we can actually argue that pretty much we can actually argue that if we hit critically with an attack as a fighter over here, because of how attack of opportunity works, we could also argue that one of them, let's just say the bigger one, even though both of them have the chance, deals this, which once again now deals more damage because you work with your teammates. Which also this weapon has a chance to hit, so wait, if this crits, so the chance for critical hit over here wait. Okay, more, that's 10, so if we take 5. Wait, okay. I messed up once again, wait. 15, so if this hits, so let's just add it as another attack that has a 5 to hit essentially. That has 3d12 plus 4. Okay, this is more accurate. This is more accurate right now. Because we can get we have a low chance of getting an attack opportunity over here. Over here plus this, so we can actually just duplicate that, and over here at plus 0. And yeah, this is actually the comparative damage if we include the fighter in it. And we actually move like a normal person instead of moving like super weirdly.
It's kind of ironic for people to argue with that as the point of this exercise is to evaluate the game's mechanics on what your expected set of actions would be versus trying to be creative and mix things up with the core game engine and to illustrate your point of increased effectiveness and trying something different. In a real world example for this ranger, you simply had their counterpart in the fighter really do nothing more than their most obvious set of actions. They really take advantage of those rangers' choices here to try to be more creative. Bottom line, yes, the ranger helped the fighter, but they also increased the effectiveness of both whites in the process with flanking of their own. But Cody, I hear you saying, combat isn't always about the most damage. Yeah, I totally agree. So let's have the ranger really mix things up and do something wild and crazy here for a fourth option, just for kicks. It's going to be a silly example, but for kicks, let's do something wacky. Option 4, just for fun here, they could stride to the white and engage with the fighter, and with their free hand, trip, which, runs the risk of the archer just falling over from themselves. Then they could even attempt to grapple the white on the ground to hold him in place for the fighter with that third action. This, of course, would still trigger the
That depends on the athletics.
and grapple have that attack trait, so the grapple would be at a -5, and, of course, it would use the ranger's strength, not the dexterity modifier, and then, the ranger would also be prone for the other line. But after foregoing 3 attacks with the weapon, they crit 30% of the time on the first shot, the ranger still accomplished a lot, because whenever the fighter goes, guess what? The white now has a -2 penalty to its AC, but in a way cooler way than just flanking it. Now, white, of course, doesn't actually need to be standing to use the strike action, so it only takes a -2 to hit the ranger who's grabbing it, but since, technically the ranger also has the prone condition, that's actually a wash, and, of course, the second white still standing would in turn get the same bonus to hit the now prone ranger as the fighter has against the first white, but at least we have this fourth incredibly satisfying option available to us. Because, as many of the comments and criticisms I received this week said, Pathfinder 2's robust combat system is really all about getting more creative, using those skill actions in combat to shove and grapple and trick.
Yeah, it is. It's not just... Yeah, it's really robust, Like, it's many skills, not just athletics. And the shove, trip, and the grapple are all just athletics actions. And you also have stuff like intimidation, deception, which you can use, for example, to create a diversion, or feint the enemy for deception, demoralize, for example, for intimidation, etc., etc., etc. And later, if you count skill feats, then you also have even more options, because scared to death, for example. If your demoralize doesn't work, then you can use scared to death. That is technically better. But if the enemy is immune to scared to death, you can then try to, for example, demoralize. I mean, that all depends on your character creation, If you create your character to be versatile, by, for example, using the free archetype variant rule that I keep talking about, because it's really good, then it will be really good. You know? Free archetype variant rule doesn't increase really your power, but gives you way more options.
Trick people. So at least we got to see what really getting wild and wacky with some good old-fashioned shenanigans could do for us mechanically. Are there other options than just these few in this example that the devil's advocates could type up in response to that perfect, but Cody, I would do this or that, or I would grab a rope and start running around the line like they were AT-ATs. Of course, there's other options, but because of the game's mechanics and how the game is designed and how the feats work versus the basic combat choices presented to us by Paizo, none of those options are really even close to being genuinely decent options in combat as just it.
They are. And that really depends on the GM. You know, for example, I decided that during combat, you know, instead of combat, because, you know, the really cool thing that we can learn from this guy is that he focuses on the combat and he just focuses on one thing to make us look like like people that genuinely want to have a genuine discussion about this look like idiots for bringing up stuff out of combat, because no, it works only when initiative is rolled, so we completely disregard this, we take this. Like, even if we say, okay, but if you, for example, before took free archetype variant rule, and for example, I don't know, took double slice or something like this, which would allow you to not only strike with quick draw, but also get a second one. When you attack with quick draw and also draw a second weapon, then you can just use double slice and hit the enemy very well. If you're using two short swords, for example, then he'd be like, no, we're not talking about out of game. I know. Don't think about this. Choices that you make during character creation do not impact your character. Okay. Only like the basic flat ones impact your character actually. Okay, look at the map. Look at the map here. Look at the very oddly ranged scenario, where the range is very odd, where Pathfinder Ranger needs to waste one more action, and in the first one, for some reason, he doesn't use his hand prey, because this combat just disappears. Because I'm looking at this combat in a way as if it disappears completely. And I'm completely not looking at allies, because who needs allies in a game that is all about teamwork with allies, you know? Who needs allies in a game about allies? Yeah, like normal Giga Chat people beat Pokemon without catching any Pokemon. Like that's how I actually take it. Because honestly, this has so many coincidences that it's really hard for me to actually think that this guy is being genuine.
There and shooting your bow because the feats that you've taken. It's not just that the other options are worse. Notice how I use the word worse and not bad. Is that they are so much worse that choosing them means you are clearly, purposefully extending the combat for your group unnecessarily. And I would argue that for a system that supposedly is the cream of the crop,
Yeah. Also, I want to like say about one session that I had before. We decided to actually, before the game, you know, before like the combat started, we knew that there were like two zombie shamblers, like shambler troops, I mean, which are essentially just groups of zombies, groups of shambler zombies. The shambler troops were essentially just like standing there, you know. So I decided that the best course of action will be, because you know, we could normally just do the PR and fight over some rounds, probably risking being flanked by zombies and being hit really hard. But I decided to take a bunch of like magical cards, you know, cards from like the cantrip deck, and start spitting on them with the group. With the whole group, we started spitting on these cards and putting them into a ball, and then we put a nail into a ball, you know. And then we essentially made a bowling ball. And then my character rolled the bowling ball in between, made of cards, in between all of these zombies, where it essentially exploded because the GM decided to allow it, where it essentially exploded and destroyed one of the shamblers. Which means that we essentially decreased the encounter difficulty by half by just essentially doing some preparations before this, which is wacky. It's not like the normal thing that you would expect your character to obviously do. Like, obviously my rogue would probably go try to flank and then fight and then just deal damage to the shambler troop until none of the zombies are gone, okay? But I decided to like do the awful thing of spitting on some cards and putting a nail in them to make a bowling ball in order to actually like nuke half of them. And yeah. And all of these cards were pretty much just Disrupt Undead and also some other like cards like Chill Touch and stuff like this. So yeah, it just destroyed the horde of zombies. I thought it would just weaken, but the GM decided that, hey, it completed, I really like your creativity, it completely destroyed the horde of zombies. And then we were fighting with only one at once. So we like ended up losing less HP. Also, which, yeah, it wasn't the most optimal course of actions, but our DM decided, hey, that's cool, and decided to make it better. You know?
For creating interesting combats and characters, I don't believe it to be particularly delivering on those expectations. But let's be fair, does the Fighting Ranger in this circumstance, in this snapshot, have a better set of options, really? The Fighting Ranger, unlike the Pathfinder 2e Ranger in this snapshot, does actually have an additional concern. Spacing. Most likely what the Ranger should, and earnestly most would do, is bonus action cast a spell, Hunter's Mark, then fire twice with extra attack, and finally move further away, because they don't want to take damage and have the white trigger a concentration check to lose one of their beloved spell slots as they continue to concentrate on Hunter's Mark. It's a subtle difference, but it is a difference, and we should take note. As you can see from the numbers listed above, we have an average damage from the first shot as 8.65 damage, and our second shot we have an average of 9.25 damage to the white for a total of 17.9 average damage with this set of actions as our baseline. There was a fun bit of math here, as we had to calculate the odds and percentages of these shots triggering the Hunter's Mark, and how many of the second shots that connected would have had the Colossus layer trigger if we didn't connect previously. And I did find it interesting.
Yeah, and I see that your math didn't work at the start because you like literally said that the first shot has higher average DPR than like essentially than you have throughout entire combat.
That our most obvious set of actions here were less than a single point of damage on average different than our Pathfinder example. So kind of interesting. Keeping things as apples to apples as we can. For option 2, the Ranger could also move up, just like the Pathfinder Ranger, and engage with the first white in melee combat, which does have the interesting added effect that they, unlike our Pathfinder example, might dissuade the white from piling into the fighter's combat because the Fighting Ranger could then trigger an opportunity attack. I mean, this is a subtle but nuanced difference in the core combat mechanics here.
But I'm going to ask. Wait.
Then, of course, we should consider. Though, I will admit, I don't hold the disillusion that one tiny opportunity attack will earnestly affect the Dungeon Master's decision that much. It probably won't. Let's be fair to both systems here, okay? I'm not really saying that. So the question is wading into melee combat and foregoing our archer fighting style here really worth it? Well, based on the numbers, I have to say, shockingly, it might be. I 100% thought that the numbers here would be a lot closer to the Pathfinder numbers, and thus prove my point. But they just flat out outperformed even my expectations, where we had a drop of 65% of average damage for our Pathfinder example. Here, we only have a 20.6% decrease from 17.9 average damage to 14.2. And what's more, our maximum potential damage only dropped 12% from 66 to 58, whereas we had a drop of 69.3% from our Pathfinder example. I mean, that's kind of crazy. A 12% drop for doing the exact same thing versus a 69% drop. I mean, that's significant. Also,
let's remember, you didn't use your Hunter's Mark. You decided to attack twice. You know. Then you didn't use your Hunter's Mark, and you only look at the first turn. You know. You still only look at the first turn and do not see how it impacts allies. With Pathfinder being the mostly teamwork game, you know, it's a teamwork game. Which once again, as I showed over here, when you actually decide to flank over here, then it increases the damage significantly over here. If we actually count everything and count the fact that the fighter 100% has the opportunity attack. Wait, wrong one.
we haven't even talked about the fact that, unlike for our Pathfinder Ranger, our dnd5e Ranger hasn't increased the efficiency for our white enemy at all, which should absolutely be taken into consideration here. Another option is to have the 5e Ranger pile into the fighter's white, drawing a short sword as part of the move action with their free hand and sliding in behind the white to trigger the flanking bonus for those games that include that variant rule, as really it's probably one of the most common variants in use. I mean, if you don't want
I've never seen a single 5e table, even though I played in few flanking rules in 5e. I haven't seen a single table use this rule.
include the flanking bonus, you don't think it's fair that I did, then fine, the numbers are exactly the same as our previous example. But if they decided to flank, it gets really interesting here. For the first time, and spoiler alert, the only time, we actually see an increase in average damage as our average damage jumps from 17.9 to 19.9 for an increase of 11%. Our maximum damage, however, is still the same decrease as our previous option, falling 12%, as really nothing changes here for that. And again, just like the Pathfinder Ranger, we should consider that our Ranger has now also granted the fighter advantage from flanking as well. Though, since we didn't go into the details for the fighter in that example, we'll do the same here and simply say that it's already enough data for this topic and point at hand. Or finally, our fighting Ranger could do dumb and silly things just like the Pathfinder Ranger did, like running over to tackle the fighter's wife to the ground as a fourth option. This would be done easily with a move and then the attack action using the first attack to make a shove attack to push them prone onto the ground, and then the second action or extra attack to grapple. So just like the Pathfinder example, this is a little fuzzy, but I believe in both examples the GM would have no problems really letting the players fall prone as a free action as part of that grapple attempt. Again, this seems silly, and let's be candid, it totally is, but mechanically, what does it do? Well, first off, the white 100% still gets to attack the Ranger, just like the previous example for Pathfinder. And the sad part is that even though it's grappled and prone, because the Ranger is prone, the advantages and disadvantages would totally and completely cancel each other out, regardless of the fact that the white has disadvantages from two sources and only advantage from one source. But if the 10 intelligence white wanted to finish off a low hit point fighter, the white would still have to escape the grapple and use half their movement to stand, giving them no further action economy to still attack the fighter. This is
Wait, finish of the fighter. You didn't say before that the fighter has little HP. I mean, most likely, since considering that you use flanking rules, then wait, even now you don't need to use flanking rules. The other white can just move to the ranger and attack the ranger at advantage.
small but noticeable difference from the Pathfinder example. And ironically enough, even in this absurd example, the Ranger's choice still had more of an impact on their game than the Pathfinder one, as we still cannot discount the fighter's potential avoidance of the damage here, or the fact that they now have an advantage, even if your table isn't using the variant advantage rules for flanking.
And once again, when you set this, you don't need to fight. You don't need to even flank, because now Ranger needed to drop prone, so now the white over here can attack the Ranger at also advantage.
They would get it from this white being prone now. Now, just because I find this interesting, let's look at one more example and say that the Pathfinder Ranger, that hey, they did their hunt prey, they did their hunted shot and strike combo, and in turn the fighting Ranger simply hunter's mark, attack, extra attack, without even using their movement. Let's flip the table and look at the whites here for a moment. Let's say both the DM and the GM have the white that was shot at move in to engage the Ranger. Okay, they make their attacks. Maybe they get hit, maybe they don't. Really, the only addition that might matter for is for the fighting Ranger so that they don't, again, drop concentration and have to burn another spell slot. Which might actually lend to a more interesting choice, by the way, for the DM playing out that combat. They could double up on the fighter, or they could try to
I
use
need
the
to
Ranger
say
so that they drop
something
their
so
first.
the
And
copyright
decide,
stuff
the white
doesn't
attack
trigger.
whomever taunted in character via roleplay, or even whomever the 10 intelligence white evaluated as the bigger threat after the first round of actions. Or sometimes, depending on the situation in total, I would just roll. That's just a little tip out there for DMs who struggle with spreading out their monsters to avoid feeling like they're picking on one particular player too much in a campaign. But I digress. Now, it's the Ranger's turns again. Here's a great example of why I'm saying the Pathfinder core game mechanics do not lend to interesting choices, but rather an illusion of choice. Now that the Pathfinder Ranger, who is using a bow, has had a melee combatant close in on them, let's see just how much it has affected their choices. The only problem is that it doesn't. Yes, you heard that right. The Pathfinder Ranger still can just stand there, firing out 4 arrows right into the face of the white, with that first arrow still having a 30% chance to drop half of the white's life total on average without any penalty. Literally, the Pathfinder Ranger's most obvious option is still to just stand there and try to finish off the white with hunted shot, strike, and then strike again.
And I'm going to once again say this because I love beating the dead horse. Teamwork. Teamwork is the most crucial part of Pathfinder 2nd edition. You know? Like the whole thing about Pathfinder 2nd edition is about teamwork. Even if the white now is going towards you. Now, if the fighter, for example, goes over here for the white, goes over here to strike the white, which, yeah, it will deal a lot of damage, striking the white, because even if you go over here, let's just assume that it moves over here. Let's assume that it moved over here, right? And let's just draw a little shape to signify where it will be for, and also for the fighter. Okay. Let's break it down. Okay, we still get this. But now the fighter can move over here to flank the white over here. And yes, this is the white in this case still. And, you know, deal a lot of damage. And then, if the fighter comes towards it, then also Ranger will have the enemy flat-footed. Okay, but those flat-footed work at range attack. Flat-footed flanking. Okay, flanking. To flank for the center of position. Additionally, if both draw a line between. Additionally, when both are able to act, you must be wielding melee weapons or be able to make an unarmed attack. You can't be under any effects that prevent you from attacking, and you must both have the enemy within reach if you are wielding a reach weapon. You use your reach weapon for this purpose. So yeah, once again breaking it down over here for flanking. If you flank the enemy. Here, this must be with melee weapons. Over here, even for the sake of an argument, okay? For the sake of an argument, over here, since this is flanking and with fighter over here doing the damage, okay? So let's make a ranger 3 where the white moved first, okay? Ranger 3. 3. Which will have, white will have 18 AC, but I will just add +2 to hit for the fighter, okay? Okay, so here, oh yeah, no, just close that, and over here this will be the ranger 3, where you just doubled, you just take no additional like strength and stuff like this, you just like do normal stuff. So then, since the fighter is hitting because you still have one hand left, then this will be at like this, which will still deal less damage than you just going for flanking. But over here, if you move over here and just decide to attack the foe now, you just happen to have another attack as your ranger, which is of course 1d8 over here. Your attack as a ranger, another one, where you deal 8 damage. And wait, if the white move over here right now, just like this, and you took, if the white moved, and you worked with your fighter together to actually deal the damage to the white, because I assume that you actually used hunt prey as your first action, then yeah, if you did this, then probably yeah. I mean, okay, now let's make, and this one was Ranger 4, and now let's actually assume let's make a third example where you did wait, okay, over here it doesn't work with demoralizing, okay. Sorry, I'm kind of stupid. It doesn't work, demoralizing won't actually work in Pathfinder DPR because it doesn't work like this. So, I mean, we can only make an assumption that we managed to frighten the white, okay? Also, so it took a status penalty. So if we decided to wait. Oh yeah, that's 1d8. I forgot to add, I think. Did I? Wait, in this example, did he? Yeah. Okay. So wait, it's even higher damage. So yeah, if we let's make a Ranger 5 and assume that we do demoralize the enemy, and we should, then that's 17 AC this time, but we copy everything. Oh, maybe just close. So duplicate that. Decide that this one attack will be closed but we reduce this by 1 because we assume that we demoralize, and yeah, it deals comparable damage. It deals comparable damage if we decided to demoralize the enemy over here. Oh yeah, that's assuming that the fighter hits the enemy. So yeah, if we actually focus down the enemy together with the fighter, then it would deal like slightly more damage with demoralize. But close. Let's say that once again duplicate another one where we decided to, instead of making this second attack, oh wait, no, this third attack over here. So yeah, it will actually deal even more damage. We just decided to make the first attack deal +2 because of a successful feint. Then yeah, the damage is still comparable. So yeah, I ran the math live on a calculator.
Some of you might be saying, but Cody, shouldn't the white get an attack of opportunity? Shouldn't the white be up on the ranger give it at least a penalty to shoot? The answer to both of those questions is simply no. It does
No.
neither of those things. There is no penalty to shoot a bow right in someone's grill. And because of the changes Paizo made to attacks of opportunity, the white actually doesn't get any reaction here. The game master's choice to move the white into melee with the ranger has had 0 mechanical effect on the game. Literally, the positioning didn't even affect the game 1%. Super interesting comment.
For this, yeah, even though it opened the option for the fighter to actually attack the flanking one, I mean the positioning is mostly about cover and flanking, which once again over here it's an empty room. So yeah.
Choices, huh? I can hear you keyboard warriors losing your minds right now, so I'm going to address the fact that yes, if the white had been a different monster with the attack of opportunity feature, shooting the bow then would have triggered an attack against the ranger. And yes, you're absolutely correct. I'm not denying that. But I went through the entire bestiary.
Yeah, that's 12% about of the bestiary. Okay, over here I will agree. That's
stat block, no matter how
12%.
similar they were, to just see how many of them had attack of opportunity. My total.
But once again, over here pretty much every option is determined by the GM unless you're playing an adventure path. Even though you can still, it is still written that a lot of GMs decide to mix and match stuff from adventure paths in their normal gameplay, which is just not running 100% adventure paths. That's also like copying stuff from normal gameplay.
55 out of the 411 stat blocks in the book. So that's just 13% of the monsters in the game, roughly, or at least the first bestiary. They could get that single reaction attack. And because it matters, 9 of those 55 were versions of the same dragon. So I counted the young red, adult red, and ancient red each, and so on. So really, the variance of the monsters that have attack of opportunity isn't even really that high. Also, yes, the white technically has a reaction when it dies to attack again. So moving it there would theoretically matter if the player didn't know the stat block, which, by the way, they shouldn't, okay? If you're a player, don't read monster stat blocks, damn it, okay? Worst case, if the ranger player was really...
Yeah, I mean, you could technically use recall knowledge to actually get some information about this. You know, one of these skill actions that completely don't work. To get this information about the monster stat block. Canonically, being a good player within the rules, normal, even though recall knowledge is notoriously bad, you still as a GM can give that information to the player.
Worry about triggering an attack of opportunity, they could have gone from 4 arrows down to 3 and simply just moved away 5 feet. The point really is all still the same. But what happens when the shoe is on the other foot? What happens when the white crashes down on the 5e ranger? Well, funny enough, the 5e combat mechanics actually kind of create a semi-interesting choice here for the ranger. Because the white is standing in front of them, they now have had their 2 hit percentage on each shot drop from 75% to 56%. Again, all that's happened is the DM chose to engage with the ranged character with that white and forego creating a flank against the other fighter instead. And it dropped the ranger's efficiency by 20 percentage points. Okay, 19 percentage points for those of you guys wanting to be semantic. You know, it almost feels like the DM had an interesting choice to make there with multiple satisfying options. It almost feels like that. Meanwhile, the ranger now has a genuine decision to make. Should they attack twice at a 56% success rate and hope to just finish the white off, or should they bide their time with a dodge action, granting their assailant disadvantage as well until the fighter can come in and help, or should they just provoke an opportunity attack and risk losing their hunter's mark and an attack and subsequent damage from that white, really in hopes of just hammering them with damage in return?
Yeah, but once again, you could try to feint that white and feint that white and stuff like this, or you could do another wacky thing when the white engages once again. Attacks opportunity do not exist, so let's move the fighter back over here. And yes, I know this token is poorly cropped. I specifically did this I specifically poorly cropped this token because I was making fun, because I wanted this to actually like make fun of the fact that this fighter essentially does nothing but just provides flanking. Yeah, I mean, you could actually, in Pathfinder 2e, just decide to move towards, just decide, despite this white trying to attack you, and stuff like this, and you can just use your Hunter's Mark, Hunted Shot, and stuff like this. You can still attempt to, you can still just attempt to make the same move like you did normally. And then decide to just flank the white, even though you can go over here and flank the white. And then the white that used its actions needs to waste an action to come towards you or towards the fighter. But when you flank and stuff like this, the fighter can easily finish off the white over here, and then the white that will be standing over here will have a harder time, because now once again the white doesn't have anything really capable of doing. Okay, just you can just move over here. You just assume that you moved over here. And now the white has semi-interesting choice of trying to move towards the fighter to flank the fighter, or trying to move and engage towards you. Okay, if it engages with the fighter, the fighter still flanks, and fighter has really strong crits. And if the fighter was using a great axe, for example, instead of a great sword and stuff like this, or a maul, for example, then when the fighter crits, the fighter also deals damage to the white over here, Over here, even if the white still decides to pursue the ranger, then Then let's say that this white over here now gets taken out. The over here arrow still goes through the white square. Still goes through the white square. So both of them can now flank the white with their melee attacks, of course. Even though you probably will just hunt prey on this white and then attack twice or something like this, or maybe if you took double slice or something like this, maybe use double slice and stuff like this, or maybe if you took more fit by using the 3 archetype variant rule, my favorite rule over here from Game Mastery Guide, but to be honest, I don't know when the Game Mastery Guide came out. Oh wait, 226. So wait, when did this come out? December 22nd. Okay. Wait, Tasha's did oh wait, oh yeah, also with this rule, Tasha's did come out, so yeah, that was a big over exaggeration to call to Ranger underpowered. Okay, so December 22nd, and this one came the 26th of February. So yeah, we already had 3 archetype. Yeah, and probably we also had Ancestral Paragon, I think, right? Tools, variant rules. Yeah, variant rules over here. BT school variants. Alignment variants. Yeah, I really like alignment variants. However, I don't really like the 7x7 alignment chart, okay? I really like the 5x5 alignment chart because this is just somewhat good, somewhat lawful. Yeah, but it's still lawful and stuff like this. I prefer like the addition of social moral, of social rebel, moral impure. So yeah, proficiency with those little magic item. Yeah, you can actually do level 0 characters. Fits and features and stuff like this. Which, okay. Not dual class, but free archetype. Yeah, just you get extra feats with that. And also Ancestry Paragon, which gives you more of your ancestry feats, which, for example, give you cooperative nature, for example, gives you bonus on checks to aid, which once again allows you to actually just work with it. So, yeah. So yeah, there were already like rules that give you way more options. And actually, let's say that actually even if we did have double slice, then for example, wait, over here, these were two. Oh no, this was just a bow. Okay, so this was an attack with a short sword. Over here that you got after 100 mark. And normally, now if we would close that, let's see the same AC one. And let's say that it's another turn where you just do your most optimal set of actions or something like this. Where, close, yeah. Over here we just remove the fighters' actions and just say that the white came in front of you and over here you attack. But over here, let's assume that you have that now you're attacking the enemy with the double slice, which enemy will be 18 AC, which once again your bonus will be 13 to this one, which will hit with your double slice for 2d6 plus 3 probably. I'm assuming that much. Because the choices you make during character creation will define how many choices you will have later. Over here. And over here, since this is a short sword, so it's agile, instead of 8 that will be 9. Normally, just kidding. It will still be 13 because double slice normally gives you just -2, but if you're using an agile weapon, there's no penalty. And forgot to add 2 damage types for the first one. Just 2 damage types for the over here, 2 damage types for the first one. And this one is kind of downplaying double slice because there's no 100% certain chance that it will work like this, okay? So yeah, 2d6 plus 3, because you probably use Hunter's Mark in case the enemy came towards you, of course. In this example, that's plus 1d8 plus 3. That's if you actually took for example, the dual weapon warrior on the side, then yeah, your damage would increase by 5 points. But assuming that instead of Hunter's Mark, you didn't use Hunter's Mark, the damage is still higher, but you feinted the enemy. Oh wait, it's still higher. But also let's assume, okay, we don't even have anything to assume at this point because it's very low. Go watch the Rules Lawyers video.
Is the trade-off to remove the disadvantage from the attacks worth it? Who knows? I'll take it one step further. Let's say we took variant human instead of the standard human, and now Ranger might even have a fourth good option for stepping back and provoking that attack, only to return fire with a sharpshooter feat activated. Damn! Look at that. Look at the mechanical differences in 5th edition's core combat choices right here. right here versus Pathfinder. Look at the black and white, undeniable statistical differences between just the positioning of a single enemy here versus Pathfinder. Look at the black. I mean, Dan, look at that. Look at the mechanical differences in 5th edition's core combat choices right here versus Pathfinder. Look at the black and white, undeniable statistical differences between just the positioning of a single enemy. Now, I'm going to say something right now before anybody else.
Like this fits it so well. Just look at the black and white statistical differences of the damage.
Misconstrues my point because they skipped around and didn't genuinely watch the video and instead are just looking for clips that they can use out of context in their own videos or forums. Because, guys, because context matters. I am not saying.
Oh no, I watched pretty much the whole video. And this is the second time I'm reacting to it. And this time I had even more preparation for this. And it's not out of context.
I am not saying that I believe that Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition doesn't have repetitive issues in combat. Okay, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that I believe dnd5e's combat is better than Pathfinder 2's combat because of this one example. Although, I mean, really, after digging into it, maybe I should. I am saying simply, the choices you make inside of combat for Pathfinder 2, which again, beating a dead horse, not character creation, but after initiative has been rolled. The core game...
Character creation allows you for more options. Because, yeah, right now it is kind of suboptimal to change to your weapons, because right now, as you can see, without the double slice, as you can see, let's just close this, close this, close this. Without the double slice, this would be 8. So yeah, it would deal half a damage less. Oh yeah, that's assuming the enemy is fainted over here, so yeah. Okay. This will be like suboptimal to actually change, quick draw your weapon and stuff like this. Okay, drop your bow, quick draw your weapon, even though over here you would have the time to use Hunter's Mark, so going over your normal example, over here like 3, wait. Oh wait, no, I forgot. This one is a 9 and this one's 4. Okay, here you're not benefiting from the Hunter's Mark, but you still essentially deal the same average damage if the enemy comes towards you. Like, that's hard statistical data. You cannot even really argue with this. Wait. 13 minus 8. Oh no, that's a 5 actually. You do more damage by just dropping your bow and putting out a short sword. Or even not dropping your bow, just putting out a short sword and attacking when the light comes towards you. You get the increase of 1 damage. Even though you can close that one and just increase that one by 1d6 because of Hunter's Mark, which, yeah, it increases it further. And again, if you chose the double slice feat, because of free archetype variant rule that I pretty much use in every game unless I'm playing with a new group. And I'm planning to ask my group later, after they are finished with some quests, if they want to use the free archetype variant rule. And yeah, it actually increases the damage. Very curious. And if you're once again asking where is the +3, it's because the very fact that he decided to go, shove and stuff like this made me assume that he had some sort of training ranks in athletics. Which means that he probably also invested something into strength. Which, once again, if he has just a short bow, but over here, even assuming that, yeah, even assuming if he did take a composite short bow, deciding to drop a weapon would be way better. Deciding to drop a weapon, like, not so much way better, but it would still be way better even if he used a composite short bow in this situation. I mean, only way where this example is worse is when we assume that he didn't invest anything in the strength, and it still is a drop by like 1 damage, okay? But I assume that he invested into strength considering the fact that he even attempted the athletics thing. Because I don't see why would he get a proficiency athletics if he didn't have any strength, because this is not like a random thing that you can recall knowledge on and stuff like this. against a low DC, okay? Athletics is a skill that you actively use. And I don't think that you cannot like attempt to grapple without the very least training in athletics. Unless it's about disarming, and you can. But looking at how high was his chance to grapple, I can see that he had probably at least expert in athletics. Considering that this was a normal chance, he probably had expert in athletics and just +2 over here. Okay, that seems like the fairest option. Okay. So yeah, it's still higher.
Inside of combat do not offer enough interesting choices for players during those combats to justify the overcomplexity of the ordinary mundane actions that could and should be simply handled during roleplay. I absolutely stand by my point of players entering into a rotation of actions, not because they've stopped and pulled out their calculators and figured out, well, if I do this, and then I do this, and that gives me a 72% efficiency level increase. Oh, no. Okay, they do it because they went, oh, look, this feat lets me roll an extra damage dice when I do this thing.
Yeah, like, I'm trying to stop myself. I'm trying to stop myself from actually like going ahead and trying to like make a roast, like an actual roast. Over here, I'm trying to just pull statistical data over here. Like, look, this is if you took double slice. Because assuming that you had the bonus in athletics that you did have, which is equal to your attack roll, it would assume that you have expert in athletics and at least +2 in strength. Okay? So yeah, I'm trying to actually I'm trying my hardest not to roast. I'm trying my hardest not to make a roast. Okay, because at this point it's really hard to say that okay. It's really hard to say that okay, maybe this guy may be right. If he straight up just decided to say that there's a separate sword and bow option for ranger, and how his DPR calculations work. Like seriously, I have the DPR calculator in, and I made this as I was watching your video. I made this thing, and okay, now we've made, and now really soon he will start actually saying normal stuff that he should have said at the very start of the video in, oh no, that's not even last 10 minutes. Oh wait, it's over here about in last 5 minutes where when everyone left, he's actually saying about this not being like a system war thing, okay? Because once again I said this in my first video. This is, and I believe that I said this at the start of this video. The whole thing is not about you just stopping to play Pathfinder, okay? You don't want to play Pathfinder, I'm cool with that, okay? You're not fucking Wizorf, okay? You're not Wizorf. My entire, like, you're not Wizorf, okay? The point is that you're not some sort of like my acquaintance that I casually just like tease by saying hey D&D bad. No, you cannot like make fun of my favorite system. Like no, I'm not going to like do the tease over here. I'm just like talking seriously. Because seriously, like I counted in math, and once again, like my big problem with D&D was actually the attacks of opportunity because they didn't allow you to move, and flanking was added as a variant rule that I like really barely knew, you know. Seriously, the first I first heard about this flanking rule when I watched this video for the first time, and now I'm watching it for like 4th or 5th time, you know. Like soon after that. But yeah, like at this point when I'm seeing this, this video really seems kind of disingenuous, you know.
That's cool. Hey, look, this ability gives me a small bonus to that same thing too. Neat. It doesn't mean that they stop trying to swing from chandeliers or ride on a silverback gorilla's shoulders as a gnome. It does mean that the game's core mechanics nudge them to do the thing that they take their feats for. And after showing you guys the cold, hard numbers, I don't know how anyone could, in good faith.
I mean, I showed the cold hard numbers over here. Like, I believe I'm in good faith because I also showed you, like, cold hard numbers. But over here they are done, like, live on a calculator, not outside of, like, the whole thing. And once again, you decide to, like, purposefully miss the point of a bunch of arguments over here. At least from what I'm seeing. Like, because you either, like, are as oblivious as, like, just like Jordan, the fast food guy, you know. The Jordan, the fast food life hacks guy that just keeps complaining about insects and stuff like this. Yeah, like, this guy, like, I called this guy Dr. Oblivious, but over here, I'm going to say that, like, looking at how you just, like, missed out a bunch of examples, it's really, really hard to actually just say that you were in good faith, because I'm going to say you are either just not in good faith and you probably were doing it because of some outside reasons, maybe, I don't know, like, I don't even know, like, what reason would you do this for, because this is, like, your private game and stuff like this, you know, and this video would only discourage people from trying out Pathfinder 2nd edition, you know, especially since the whole point of the video, which would be that you're free to play every system you want, but because if I were him, you know, and if I was in good faith, I would probably start with the video with something like this. Okay, we have many systems. Feel free to play whichever system you want, but I stopped playing Pathfinder because I found the issue I had with repetitive actions, because I found the action of combat really repetitive. Okay, and stuff like this. So yeah, and the problem with fits nudging your actions in the ways that you want, once again, if you take once again the free archetype variant rule, and also Ancestry Paragon, and also, just like I do, just give out a bunch of free feats to your players once in a while, sometimes in some campaigns. That, of course, the feats that are not all that powerful, just giving out a bunch of free feats that can give you additional, like, separate things. For example, giving out, like, the Intimidating Strike. Oh yeah, it was Intimidating Strike, not Frightening Strike. Okay. For example, giving like Frightening Strike, I mean giving Intimidating Strike to the champion, to, like, the Desecrated champion, won't really that much break the balance of the game or something like this, but it will give the champion another way of deciding to approach combat encounters, you know. That's why I love free archetype variant rule, because, you know, if you're building a ranger, you will probably just take ranger feats that allow you to shoot stuff like this, you know. And additionally, if there are no feats, then only then you probably will decide to actually pick the stuff that is not bow related, okay? But now, if you have the free archetype variant rule, then you will get a bunch of, like, additional feats that you probably never knew that you would actually use, and then you would actually have more tools to work with. Okay, that is, like, my most good faith. Okay, like, my most good faith thing would just assume that, like, your wisdom is negative, that your wisdom has, like, a negative modifier, and, like, your passive perception is, like, so low that you're completely oblivious to all of this, and you're kind of bad at math because, you know, like, live DPR calculator, you know, that I did on live with Pathfinder DPR. So yeah, like, you're either in bad faith here for some reason, one reason or another. Or you are just completely oblivious, okay? Like, giving you the best assessment I could make is that calling you completely oblivious, but because, you know, I know that you may stop playing, and I don't know if you live stream these games, because probably if you live stream your games, there are Tommy. Who's that Tommy guy?
Okay.
Okay, that's a separate guy. That's not like this. Rewards. So I don't know if the because okay, since like none of the people I assume, as far as you said, none of the people knew the group and stuff like this. That means that I would probably assume that means that you probably don't stream the game, you know? That you probably don't stream your games and stuff like this. Okay, so assuming that, then that you don't stream your games, then yeah, probably just saying that you quit Pathfinder or something like this and making it like a giant troll of the system, then it probably wasn't like really smart move, you know? Unless you wanted to find an excuse to actually like crap on the system.
Argue otherwise. And ultimately, my issue with the system is, what's the upside? I mean that. What's the upside here? Because the tedium of the crunchy system really just takes me out of immersion completely. I mean, look at this. Look at this. Look, there are four degrees of failure for balancing on a mossy log in the woods. These are...
Yeah, but you don't need to really follow them. Wait, let me see like the first rule of Pathfinder. The first rule of Pathfinder is game is yours. The rest of the rules exist for you to use to tell stories. You want to tell and share exciting adventures with your friends. There are plenty of rules in this book, but none of them overrule that first rule. Take rules that help you make the game you want. Change those that you don't. Do quite what you need them to do and leave the ones that aren't helping. It's your game. There's no right or wrong way to GM so long as everyone is having fun. That includes you. That's the first rule of Pathfinder. Quite literally, the first rule of Pathfinder is that you do not need. That you don't need to follow the rules. You can improvise them. But however, all of the rules over here that we have are just tools to help. If you, for example, don't know what the balancing is about, then you over here have rules that should work the best, okay? But you can, if it's an important thing, that yeah, you can just try to improvise it on the spot. I improvise a lot of rules on the spot. However, the rules over here are just to help us as game masters. And yeah, everything has 4 degrees of success. And let's say, once again, let's roll it.
look at this. Look at this. Look, there are 4 degrees of failure for balancing on a mossy log in the woods.
For balancing on a mossy log in the woods. Okay. Over here, let's just increase the quality. It's just balance. Okay, balance. Requirements run is in a square that contains a narrow surface, uneven ground, or another similar feature. Oh. So it's not just about the mossy log in the woods. Because once again, like, what he is using over here just sounds to me like a bunch of manipulation tactics, you know? Like, there are like a bunch of people that say... Because once... Like at school and stuff like this, people like were saying something on like a day, special day or something. I don't remember what it was about, but they were like saying something about not letting people like manipulate you. So I said, okay, so now I need to know what are the manipulation tactics and stuff like this to actually avoid them and notice when people are trying to use them on me, you know. So yeah, he specifically just points out mossy log in the woods. I mean, because okay, there are 4 degrees of success on on balancing. Okay, like yeah, you can walk around everything. Like you can balance on a mossy log in the woods. You can balance on a roof when you're going across a roof. You can balance when you're going across a rope or something like this. Or you can just balance when you're walking, for example, in a forest that has uneven ground. Or you can balance while walking on a castle wall or something like this. You think. Then you think, okay, like balancing, and you just assume all of these things. But he specified mossy log in the woods, which means that your brain doesn't automatically think, okay, this is balancing on a log specifically. Okay, you can be balancing on a log, but on a log that is specifically mossy and also in the woods, and that makes, but that when he points that out, then your brain automatically thinks that it's way more specific than it is in actuality.
These are hard-coded written rules, guys. I'm not making these up. You can pull them up in your books. There are 3 degrees of successes and failures for squeezing. I mean, there are hard-coded rules that the designers took the time to write out for making a request. They have 4 possible different outcomes for the Game Master, depending on how high the player's character...
Yes, for everything. But they're for Game Masters to use. And once again, that is like my favorite piece written over here, Like with the OGL, with like D&D, with the whole OGL that they make, They just like decided to like make a completely bad system, but just said, oh yeah, you can fix that. Because we have like open gaming license, and then they were known because they were the first ones that made the open gaming license thing, as like like a public thing and stuff like this. So they were like assumed to be like the main guys and stuff like this. That's why they were assumed to be main guys. And even though pretty much now every single like group uses something of our open gaming license, they were the first ones to do this. So they are just like thought about. And a lot of people forget that this is just a game. I like improvise so many rules. I like improvise so many rules every session, even though there are rules for this, I just assume what kind of rule would it make, I constantly change rules about recall knowledge and stuff like this, but because I don't really like them and my players don't like recall knowledge, so I constantly change them, But over here we have hard written rules, just so you can support yourself with these rules if you don't know, you don't need to just try to improvise. Okay, balancing and like success. What does success do? If you fail, do you fall? If you fall, do you fall over? Like you can improvise that to like think about your own rules and stuff like this. But you can also, if you're not sure what to do, you can actually rely on rules. That's how it actually is supposed to work.
Rolls on a d20 versus the GM's DC. God forbid, guys, the GM group, just roleplay that. No. Pathfinder to me needs hard.
God forbid GM just says roleplay that. No, there's no way. Like, there's no way. It's completely not like there are plenty of rules in this book, but none of them overrule the first rule. Take the rules that help you make the game you want, change those that don't do quite what you want them to. It's not like you should take the rules that help you make the game you want and change these that don't want them to back. What the fuck? What the fuck am I talking about at this point? Okay. Like, I mean, at this point, like, the very first rule of Pathfinder, the most important... Okay. The most important rule of Pathfinder is that these rules are handwritten just to help you. But if you don't want to use them, that you don't need to use them, That's the whole thing with TTRPGs, that you can actually choose the rules that you want and ignore the rules that you don't want. Because it's ultimately the game master choice. That's the whole thing with TTRPGs, and it's black and white. Like, I don't know how you can say this in good faith when you have like how black and white like cold text written here that essentially says that it should work otherwise.
Making a request. And And my point is any of that adding fun to your games? Is it fun for your group to have hard-coded rules that define the parameters for squeezing? For me, the answer is simply no. It doesn't add to any part of our game experience. Well, Cody, you could just ignore all those extra parts and rules that you don't like and house rule all those things. Yeah, sure, I absolutely could do that. But my question is why though? There's already a game system from my table that ignores those tedious rules. I mean, look at this right here. This is a perfect example of what I am talking about. In the Dungeon Master Guide for 5th edition, it lists both the standard rules and the variant rules for identifying a magic item in 204 words. Pathfinder's 2nd edition is spread out between pages 238, 503, 504, and 505, and including the accompanying...
Okay, let's look at them. Let's look at them. Over here you have rules for adjusting difficulty. This is the general adjusting difficulty for everything. Once again, he's using that little manipulation tactic that essentially just, okay, here you have like all of this, here you have all of this. It's completely just all of this. Look at this, okay? Instead of just like looking at critically assessing, okay, if task is, because over here we have the table for normal stuff, you know? And over here you can just like remember, you know? You can essentially just like write these DCs on a flyer, on like a little. You can literally write, because the thing that you actually need to remember is just this thing. It's just this little table over here with DCs, and the one with adjustments. And you just need to write this. And you just need to write this on a literal napkin. You need to write this on a literal napkin to actually like have this, you know? And it's not just that, you know? It's just this table and this table. You don't need all of the text below, you know? This is just mostly examples and stuff like this. You just need these two tables and then you read the rules. Even though you don't need to read the rules, you can just assume, yeah, religion skill is tied to divine magic. So probably if someone is using, and pretty much every divine spellcaster gets religion training. So probably if I want to identify divine, then religion works, you know? You don't need to do this, but these are rules that you can rely on. That's how it works. And the DCs and the difficulty adjustments are the things that you can write on a literal napkin. In fact, I quite literally have like one page that has like the most important and common rules that I use, okay? It has the DC by level thing. It has the difficulty adjustments. And this also has, you know, wait a moment. Yeah, and also it has like how you heal medically and stuff like this, you know? I literally fit all the rules I need to have as a game master on one page of a notebook. That is an A5 paper. If you don't know what is A5 paper, it's literally just one page from a notebook. And it's not like the two sides of a page, it's on one side of one page. I have everything I necessarily need for this, you know? But literally, like, this is like 13 squares, so that's like written, okay, 13 by 4. So that's like written like on 6.5 by 2, 6.5 by 2 centimeters. This. And this is also written over here. I have actually like that in 2 by 2. In like not 2 by 2, but these are 2 by 2. These are 1. And I don't have the rarity because rarity is actually useless. So yeah. Like you don't need most of the text. The text is just with mostly examples, you know? This is mostly examples. So you just know how to do this completely correctly. Even though I literally just have like one page where I have all of the necessary rules that I need to do, you know? I have just the rules for like the main actions like grappling, like grapple, demoralize, and stuff like this. Like grapple, demoralize, feint. And also I believe that there's a rule for like the bone mod fit. In like a little skill action place. And all of these feel just like one page that is the size of like a pocket edition of a Pathfinder book. Over here, most of that is just examples and things that you can rely on. But the actual gameplay of these rules for Game Master could be fit on one page.
Chart and subsequent table reference 10-5 takes the Paizo team 847 words and numbers to deliver their rules for the same process in their game. And to be fair to them, I didn't even include the paragraph of the rules that the 10-5 table was included in on level-based DCs. I mean, look, I can't even clear here. If you enjoy that, then great. I mean it. I said that in the last video. It shows that Paizo has a passion for this style of gameplay. It just ain't me. The trade-off of dealing with all these little...
Oh yeah, and now he actually starts talking sense. At the end of the video. Where it's just, okay, I don't like crunchiness, okay? Even though you can technically ignore the crunch, I just prefer D&D, okay? Now it's how it should start, you know? He should start saying that, okay, my point in the previous video was that I don't really like the crunchy system because even though crunchy system is written like this, I still feel limited because of the because like my players want to use the bonuses they get, so they still feel limited and stuff like this. And I just want the combat to be faster, and from my experience, I believe the D&D combat to go faster. That's all he had. And like, then say something like, I don't discourage you from playing Pathfinder and stuff like this. If you like the system like this, then great, that's your choice and stuff like this, you know? Like, quite literally, all he had to say in all of this could be fit in like 5 minutes. Could be fit in 5 minutes. Like, I could literally write the whole script of his video that he could make, you know?
The rules that we got isn't worth the incredibly complex combat system. Because in my opinion, or really, as I hopefully illustrated in this video with cold hard numbers, the combat system for Pathfinder 2e isn't very deep or rewarding for martial classes.
Okay, I'm going to tell you like... I am going to tell you the numbers went like really cold hard. Like the fact that you write the number down doesn't make the number cold hard. The cold hard numbers mean not actual evidence. Like you see in real time. You can see this in real time that this isn't just a PNG, okay? You can just remove this, then it will increase the DPR. You can get this back to 18, and over here you see the DPR that we have, okay? And stuff like this, okay.
You should really dig into it, in my opinion. I will say that I don't find really much difference at all between the two systems when it comes to casting spells. Functionally, there's really not much difference in my 5e games and my Pathfinder games between my caster PCs. And this is probably because most of the Pathfinder spells take 2 actions of your action pounding anyway. So in practice, side by side, they do seem practically identical as each can in essence cast a spell and then make a move. It's very, very similar. And I wish Pathfinder 2e had more versatility with allowing players to get creative with breaking up their spells down and casting up, not with spell slots, but really with their action economy.
Is this the time where I start singing something? Because heal and harm is countering rate. Like I could literally make this. Okay, look at this. Like as he is quite literally playing this, I would love to like actually get a clip of this. And over the clip of this, what he's like actually saying, I would love to actually just like press the heal spell definition, you know, because one action at a range of touch, you heal 1d8 or deal 1d8 to an undead. Over here now, 2 actions, it increases to 30 feet, and it increases restored hit points by flat 8. So yeah, over here it's just like a quick jab or just quick heal to get someone up from the ground and stuff like this. So that's really great. And over here, this is like an actual normal heal spell. And if you use free action, you heal all creatures and also damage all undead creatures within the area of the 30-foot emanation. So yeah, it actually changes from a literal just like a jab touch spell that you probably would just add because you just lost a bit of HP and you want to heal it back or something like this. Over here, just 30 feet. Over here, it changes into a normal, just regular spell that you would assume to be a healing thing. Like, over here is just like the healing touch, I think it was called. Over here, it's just like healing word. And free action is like mass healing word in D&D. So yeah, it's essentially just 3 spells in one. And there's also harm. That is, once again, this, but in reverse. This one, but in reverse, because it is negative right now. And wait, Scorching Ray. Once again, takes 1 to 3 actions, and depending on the amount of... And you deal damage depending on the amount of targets. Like, in the first one action is just a normal, like, little small fire beam and stuff like this. Which just deals 2d6 damage. But if you spend 2 actions, it targets... but, you know, they'll do more damage each and stuff like this. And also more. So this one still works 1 to 3 actions. So yeah, that's 3 different spells because of your action economy. Okay, thing that you wish was. And in the very player's handbook and Secrets of Magic that... when did it come out? Okay, Secrets of Magic came out after this. Okay. For Scorching Ray, so that's cool. But heal and harm existed already before. And now Kinetic Ram is another spell at the top of my head that I could think about. Having 3 actions. Which pushes 1 creature 15 feet. This one pushes 1 creature 30 feet. And the distance is doubled. And also can't knock the enemy prone. And then later, it targets all creatures within like 5-foot emanation. Okay, now, what other spells do we have? Wait. I don't remember how this spell was called. It was like choir or something like this. Oh yeah, Concordant Choir. Which one? Yeah, just 1d4 sonic damage to a single enemy, then 2d4 in like the burst, 10-foot burst, and over here once again emanation. So yeah, once again another spell that can be activated with actions in a different way. And yeah, it was already in player's handbook with the healing stuff and stuff like this, you know. Already. And free archetype variant rule and stuff like this also gives you more options for marshals to have combat maneuvers and stuff like this. And also, we're not looking at rules, we're looking at the trait. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. And yeah, I'm sure that and you know, most of them were already, like, okay, not most of them, okay? Not most of them. However, as you can see, even Bloodline Conduit, for example, and stuff like this, and Bond Conversion and stuff like this, Burning Spell, no, not burning spell actually. Okay, over here on cast down. Once again, like all of this is meta magic that allows you to affect a spell that takes 1 or 2 actions and give it an additional effect. So yeah, that quite literally happens. And it happened before the video was made.
I said in the last video, and I'll repeat, I think they had a great idea. I personally don't think that they really went for it enough to rebuild their system, their spell system from the ground up, and lean into these mechanics more. And I'm sure they had discussions about it during their creative process. It's not like I think that they didn't debate doing just that. I just wish they had really gone for it. As is, in my opinion, the spell system it's fine. It's not groundbreaking. It's not terrible. It's just fine. And if players throw fireballs in dnd5e and they come over to throw fireballs in Pathfinder 2e, they'll feel right at home. The best thing I did this week was to take the whole week to produce a response. And while I was making this script, I had to keep deleting it because I was so frustrated with all the responses. I was so mad. And I purposely am leaving out any clips for all the response videos that I saw this week. Okay? I'm just going to call those out because there was no way to include them without kind of being a jerk to these creators and showing them disagreeing with themselves in the same video. These creators who might be...
Not really. They would just disagree with you, and you would have like no response, and you would say something like, yeah, you're completely ignorant and stuff like this. I mean, like you would, if you actually like showed clips from like more than like 2 obscure channels that have like 10 subscribers, then you would probably not be able to actually respond this without like putting the clip so out of context that even like the dumbest people would get suspicious.
Maybe a little smaller than my channel, who might maybe not have an audience the size of mine to really lift them up and support them like I had this week. So for that, I just want to thank you guys. And I think, doing that to them would just be like, so I'm just not going to subject them to that, because after seeing how cringy anonymous keyboard warriors can be this week talking about a game, singling out any of them would be a really mean thing to do, and I just hate me. What I will do is say this. I watched the responses, and it was frustrating for me, because in all the videos they would say one thing, where they kind of undeniably agreed with me in my assessment of the mechanics, and then immediately they would turn around and just tell me to be more creative, which, if I could speak candidly, I found to be...
Okay, so essentially, I'm going to tell you. The fact that the fact when someone says one thing that is correct in a statement doesn't actually mean that the whole thing is true, okay? That's how Andrew Tate operates, okay? That's like how literally Andrew Tate operates, okay? He usually mostly says like one thing good, like, oh yeah, men also deserve mental health. And like this, yeah, he is caring for men and stuff like this. And then he says something like, that's all because of women. And then they think, okay, this guy is reasonable, he was right before, so this time he must also be right. Like that's how this logic functions, okay?
I found it a pretty insulting thing to say. I mean, it was a little arrogant of them to assume that they knew what the problem was without any information just because they were experiencing their own cognitive dissonance. And the funniest thing to me all week is how many times I heard their problem is, his problem is, and I actually never, not once, in my videos said we were having problems in this game. We're not. The game's fine. Now, we may move on to something else here, as we've already ran this campaign for a year, so the group may make the decision to try something else out at the end of our next book. I just don't know yet. But anyway, I'm going to give all these creators a pass this week, because I think it's just better to let the scenarios that we examined earlier in this video speak their truth. However, there is one creator that I watched, I was rather impressed with, and I haven't seen this individual before, and while they did not agree with me, the way they disagreed with me was notably civil, and their insight into mechanics clearly came from a place of being able to dissect them in an objective way. So I really just want to take a moment here to plug Tommy over at Black Dragon Gaming, and I'll throw a link down to his channel below. If you guys and gals are interested in hearing more insight on Pathfinder 2e, because you guys like Pathfinder 2e, maybe go check Tommy out, see if he's got some cool stuff for you. Now, there were a bunch of silly little criticisms for me this week that I want to show you guys.
And that's at the end of the video, where as you can see, like, and as you can see, probably everyone left by this time. Most replayed, so I don't know if this is just my watch time, if there's like just overall more watch time of people, because I don't even remember.
I'm the worst person on the internet or something, to which I'll say, I'm sorry you feel that way.
Like I'm not going to say that you're the worst person on the internet, okay? Like a lot of stuff you say is over exaggerating everything. And a bunch of disingenuous pretty much stuff. Because out of what I see you do, you just strawman stuff and then assume, like, just pull strawman fallacy and then decide to, like, say that others are doing this. Because, and if you're wondering, strawman fallacy. which informal fallacy of a strawman fallacy, sometimes written as strawman, is informal fallacy of refuting an argument in a different form, the one actually under discussion, while not recognizing or acknowledging the distinction. One who engages in this fallacy is said to be attacking with a strawman. Typically, strawman argument creates an illusion of having referred or defeated an opponent's proposition through covert placement of it with different position. Stand up a strawman, and the subsequent refutation of the false argument knock down a strawman. Instead of opponent's proposition, strawman arguments have been used throughout history in political debates. Yeah, so like a lot of this is just like people just calling you straight up min-maxers from you. But what I've seen with many videos from this, okay, I've seen many videos from this, reactions from like No Nut Ruler and stuff like this, and all of them were pretty much literally just saying, weren't like completely saying like, oh, you evil min-maxer and stuff like this. It was mostly, with Rules Lawyer, it was like straight up like cold hard math showing that you're wrong. Over here, of me, even though it's kind of like more emotional, I also like try to use as much cold hard math as I can. And once again, like most of the people I see, the content creators, just quite literally either showed cold hard math that disproves your point, or they just disagreed in a civil way and stuff like this, or said that, yeah, like, okay, just to say this in the simplest way possible I can, is that from my experience, the biggest complaint is that the way you framed it in your video was framed in such a way so people might turn away from trying Pathfinder 2nd edition, you know? That's the whole problem, okay? And after seeing this video, like, I've seen so many like mess ups that I'm pretty convinced that you could not possibly have done it. That you could not have possibly done it while 100% being in like good faith. And yeah, as you with you saying like clips out of context, yeah, I watched the whole video and just skipped a bunch of times. But in a video before, I watched the whole video, okay? And this time I just came up with more knowledge, and I see just dissecting it even further with like more experience, more evidence, you know? Because the more I watch this video, the more things I see wrong with the video.
But you know what? Even if you hate my guts, because I had some criticisms of the game that you guys like to play the most, I hope that if you see me at a convention, assuming, by the way, that we ever even have them again, that you come up to me and say hello. If you want to come up to me at Gen Con and tell me how wrong I am about this mechanic or that mechanic, or ask me if I've ever played this system or that system, please, please, please do. Because I love to meet new people. I love talking about roleplay games. I love talking about game design especially, and I love marketing, and I will be more than happy to share a beer with you and chat about the things we love, even if we don't agree on those things 100% of the time. At the end of the day, there are plenty of people that will love the Pathfinder 2e roleplay game. I just happen to find that the oversaturation of rules and crunch doesn't add anything to the game for me. Because Pathfinder 2e is a game where you'll never have to make it up. You just have to look it up. And for me, that's just not...
Yeah. Wow, he essentially said the actual thing that he should have started with at the end of the game. At the end of the video. Sorry, I'm kind of tired. Like, it's literally 11 p.m. So, yeah, like, the whole point of the actual video just completely... What you should say should be said, like, at the very start of the video. Like, you should say open it, in my opinion, with something like starting to say how the Pathfinder role-playing game just not being for you, okay? You could have just said, okay, Pathfinder 2e is a very crunchy. You should open it with something like Pathfinder 2e is a very crunchy system, meaning X and Y and stuff like this, okay? And while I was really going through the Age of Ashes game, then I have experienced these difficulties of feeling that with my players feeling that the encounters are repetitive. And I'm going to break down what I would call illusion of choice, and then just give some examples, okay? Then I would probably be like, okay, and I would just try to give you the most helpful advice I see. For example, okay, since probably I assume that your druid is a wild druid, your wild druid should prepare some sort of fireball, and you maybe should like make the enemies like instead of one enemy, you should put two enemies that each of these enemies is 2 levels slower than the original enemy you were fighting. This could spice up the fight. This could open more of the options, and and stuff like this. I would also like show you some of the homebrew and stuff like this. But now when I'm seeing this, like how you handle the examples, it's really hard to say that you're in good faith, especially looking at the fact how you completely like miscalculated the math, which yeah, I quite literally did this on a special calculator specifically made for Pathfinder 2nd edition. Okay, like okay, I'm trying to see like the best of people. Okay, I'm always trying to see the best of people. Okay. However, like in this video, you made so many things, so many like miscalculations, or like just little like eto mistakes, bleh, and stuff like this, in a row that it's really hard to say that you were genuine with this. Okay, I'm trying to be the nicest possible. Okay, I'm not trying to like call like the evil mastermind BBG guy or something like this, okay? I'm just saying that the video, as I'm watching it feels like you are trying to pull a strawman on the actual creators, because from what I've seen, the creators of Pathfinder that I've watched respond to you were all like really civil, okay? Like I saw this illusion of choice and I got discouraged from playing Pathfinder 2nd edition at first, okay? And then I watched responses to the videos, and then I decided, okay, maybe it's not that bad. Maybe I will actually try this game, and I started loving this game, okay? Because I was your average viewer that just decided to quit around like the 40-minute mark and stuff like this at the first time, okay? Like so much of this now that I'm looking back are like horrible arguments to actually make, looking at the whole thing with Pathfinder, okay? Because like looking at this in like the most optimist light, most optimist light, you're the most like oblivious person ever, okay? And looking it at like the light that like my lenses through my eyes just see this, like what like my heart sees, like what my heart sees, because I genuinely, even though I'm kind of a douchebag, okay, what my heart sees is a very oblivious person, but what my brain sees is a person that essentially just pulls a bunch of like tactics to make people think that the actual point is different than the actual point, and also like uses all the stuff to actually put the dice in his favor. Because like seriously, putting these whites at this specific range and moving in this specific way is just like the perfect mix, just so you just get 10 feet away, just so you're like 5 feet, one step away, so you need to waste one more action, so you won't use your hunter's mark, and then using not being able to use your hunter's mark as a point. That seems disingenuous to me, like really. To my brain, all of the arguments you made over here seem really, really disingenuous. Okay? So yeah, that's essentially my whole point, okay? Because I'm a person that is trying to be like genuinely a nice person, sees good in people, there's still like a really small chance, like about as big of a chance as rolling a natural 20, that he is genuinely just like really oblivious. Okay? But the other chance is that he is not oblivious and he is just like trying to do something out of spite of something like this. I don't know why even would it be like this, okay? Because looking at the like hard code numbers, that when you actually run the numbers on a calculator, actually don't work, and straight up say that, you know, the damage on the first attack is higher than the damage throughout the whole turn, doesn't seem really good to me, okay? Doesn't sit right with me. Okay. So yeah, that's pretty much it. That's pretty much all I wanted to say, okay? Just... I'm not going to watch the rest of the video, probably.
My preferred style of running a game, but
Okay.
it might be for you, and that's perfectly okay. I, of course, want to give a massive thank you to all the incredible patrons over at Welcome Adventure.
Oh yeah, because it's just Patreon. Because it's just Patreon stuff. Okay, so yeah, just roll at the end of the video